hello again. Shaboom, I hope that we meet again. Oh, life would be a dream if only I don't know any more of the words. Also, it always takes a couple minutes for people to see the stream going live, and so nobody's going to be here for a couple minutes. This is the pre-banter part of our show. So welcome to everyone who is waiting here with breathless anticipation in the stream. You know the drill by now. I will do official introductions in a bit, but right now, hang with us and enjoy the vibe. While I find... Oh, shit.
Vibe.
Oh, I donned it. I was so happy and excited that I forgot to rename the stream.
I'm too excited.
This is why joy is the enemy of getting things right.
That's not true.
What is the enemy of getting things right?
Oh no, I said a true thing. I've revealed some of my inner machinery that's very badly broken.
The cost of getting things right is constant misery. Folks, welcome to this new world. Here to be quiet here. Hachi Machi.
Pat, if you need some buffer time, I've prepared a single joke.
Oh, yeah. A single joke.
Yeah, it took me a while, and I've been workshopping it with other people, so I was hoping I could do it here.
I mean, this is the we are our own opening band, so this is the perfect opportunity for you to sort of try out some new material if you have it.
All right. Okay. So, we're doing this for Geeks Doing Good 2022. We are raising money for the Worldbuilders charity, which if you type in bit.ly/GDG 2022, you'll be able to see. And
this isn't a good joke so far, Aaron.
No. That was the lead up until I get to the joke.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that not the way to structure a joke?
Okay.
You've left me wanting more.
Okay. I'll trust you.
Why don't oysters donate to charity? Because they're selfish. Wait. Shit. Let me go back. Why don't oysters donate to charity?
Why, Aaron?
Times are tough, man.
I hate.
Here we go.
How much I laughed at that.
You just earned the oi in oyster.
Oh.
Right?
Wow,
I did it.
Wow.
I also want to call out in the chat, somebody said they don't give a shuck, which is pretty good.
That's good.
It's also very good. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I
that exhale.
Conversation assassin here. It's like, I just don't know how to go on.
That's just so special. I just feel like very grateful that I was here for that. I feel very grateful that, to have been a part of, just to be in the room when that happened. Wow. Gratitude.
I don't think I'd be able to steal that and do it justice ever. That was a one time in my life.
TM. Yeah. I'll be telling that single joke at the Laugh Factory next Thursday. So if you want to come by, I'm going to tell that joke and just leave.
Coming up. Honestly, I don't think I would laugh harder at anything than a comedian coming up doing 12 seconds of material and saying, "That's my time, folks. You have a great night."
That would be very good.
Even
also,
want more.
Why would you do anything other than your A material? And technically, you can only have one best joke. So you go out there. It's like giving everyone a small, perfect diamond, and then you say, "I cede my time," and you leave. And everyone remembers you forever as like, I wanted to hear the rest of that. Which is...
we're going to clip that out of the VOD, FYI. You had to be here live for that joke.
Good. Well, I mean, that's what killed vaudeville, is Twitch killed vaudeville.
Oh, I forgot. That's what did it, yeah.
So, okay. Now, oh boy, the chat. Chat, I love you.
Do they like puns?
Oh, God, my people.
Oh, my God.
I love my chat. I do not deserve my chat. And I mean that in a positive way. But they are clever enough that they can be very distracting. And somebody's like, oh, that joke was a real pearl. I'm torn between really showing you guys a lot of love and not wanting to encourage you. Also, hey, everybody, today we have company. So, like, I want good manners in the chat. Thank you. Meebles has immediately redeemed points to make me bring my milkshake to the yard, which I forgot.
What does that entail?
I don't know. I did it as a joke, and I never removed it from my channel. So
well, the boys are here.
We're gonna. I mean,
in the yard.
I think conceptually,
where's the milkshake?
We're not going to start a dab where either everyone. I said we have company, and I swear to God, I will pull this stream over, and I won't really. Thank you for being lovely. I love you all. Also, watch me segue effortlessly here in a sort of a meta narrative way into introductions. Everybody, we do have company. We have some of my absolute favorite people in the world. And rather than just overflow endlessly in sort of an elegiac way about these folks, I will encourage them to introduce themselves so that they get to choose what sort of foot that they are putting forward. And if you're a mollusk, that's really important because you really only have that one. That's called a callback. See, I know comedy too, Aaron. There. Let's start maybe with Aaron in that direction over there.
Oh, hello, everyone. I am Pat's community manager and our fearless facilitator for today's game, The Quiet Year. I don't just facilitate things, though. I make RPGs. If you go to curtaincall.games, you can get a starter kit of Curtain Call, the high school theater RPG. No dungeons, only drama. But I'll let you figure that out for yourself. Why don't we move on to our guests?
Brendan.
Hey, gang. My name is Brendan Lee Mulligan. I'm the GM and creator of Dimension 20, which you can find over on dropout.tv, college humor streaming platform. And a joy, an honor, a privilege to be here with Worldbuilders, one of my favorite people to come and play with and play games and make content with. And oh, shucks, it's a true delight and an honor to be here.
And Maud?
Me. Hi, my name is Maud. I am also a content creator that decided 10 years ago to make a company called Geek Bomb. We turned 10 this week.
Hey, congrats.
So aside from panicking, I also created an improv Dungeons and Dragons game called Fungeons and Flagons that we've done quite a few seasons of as well, that we got on Geek Bomb. And I host 2 different book clubs. One's on Nerdist and one is also on Geek Bomb. So Pat and I bond over books.
It's some of my favorite conversations about books, mostly because they're my books. And I don't feel the need to justify that. I do, and I already feel bad for saying that.
That's great. That's great.
And I am Neil Gaiman. Welcome to Worldbuilders and this stream. That is a joke I'll never get tired of either. So everybody, we have done Quiet Year before, and I want to share with you one of the great joys here, because I love playing with people because I'm here in Wisconsin. COVID makes traveling difficult. Getting to do some of these things online means I get to sort of hang out with some people that otherwise I wouldn't get to see. But also, this is kind of a gladly learn and gladly teach situation, because one of the great joys in life is getting exposed to new experiences, and it is only equaled by sharing things you love with people you love. And Quiet Year is a wild game that centers around world building. And as most people who play with me know, any game you play with me where there's any sort of creative something going on will become a world building game, because I cannot be stopped. And I'm going to do like For the Queen, guess what? It's actually a world building game, and I'll play it for 4 hours. So what we have here is Brennan and Maud have never played Quiet Year. And I'm guessing some of y'all don't know Quiet Year. We've done games already. If you've seen those, great. If not, Aaron is going to briefly describe sort of the concept of Quiet Year, and then we'll get into some of the rules, and then we're just going to like dive right in and start playing. So be aware that if you don't know this game, I am delighted, because that means you get to see it, and you get to see how beautiful and easy it is to play it from a dead stop. It's the mark of a good game. And you're not the only one here who's new to it, right? So take it away, Aaron.
Great. So The Quiet Year is one of my favorite RPGs. It was developed by Avery Alder back in 2013. And we actually have this in the Indiegogo. If you're interested, please go over there and get a physical copy. The Quiet Year is a map drawing game, but Pat and I know better, so we're not drawing stuff. We actually have the very lovely and talented Julia Maddalina behind the scenes here, who's going to be drawing all of our maps. Julia is sensational and fantastic. And I realize we're characterizing you like Ghost Rider from PBS right now, which not terrible.
No, I'll take it.
No, when you said that before, I thought you meant Ghost Rider, like on a motorcycle.
Johnny Blaze.
Yeah.
Hell on wheels. Oh no, that's a whole different game. In A Quiet Year, we are going to play as a community rebuilding after the collapse of civilization. The decisions that we make are going to define the values and the future of this community, and we're going to see that personified on the map as we play. This map is going to blend cartography, symbols, so that we have a rich visual record of the world that we are making. Us as players, we're going to collaborate, steer the fate of the community, while also introducing problems and tensions along the way. So we may speak as communities, we may speak as single people from time to time. I encourage our players to introduce some problems and tensions so that we can make this a little more interesting. Also, players, I made this a little bit easier, and everyone on stream, I'm going to be handling and keeping track of our projects. I'm going to be pulling your cards. I'm going to be preparing your questions. So as we progress throughout the game, I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to answer. And really, it's just going to be a conversation between the three of you so that we can make this map. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Rad. Pat, before we start, I want to make sure that we are honoring everyone's lines and veils. I want to make sure that we're not hitting any subject matter that people would really just not like to hit. So is there anything that we should put in lines and veils before we begin?
As I always do, I'd love to say, let's steer clear. I'm okay with peril in moderation towards children, but violence towards children, in my experience, it is hard to make that pay for itself adequately in a narrative. So let's not try to thread that needle if it's okay with everybody. I got babies, and I ain't cool with babies being in trouble.
Speaking of that, I'm also going to raise my hand and say, hey, let's not do a plague, because I'm kind of done with them.
I'm good with that. I'm not a big fan of sexual violence personally myself. Or how about, let's just say, is abuse too broad? How about this? I'm going to say we can have plenty of tension without actual abuse, right? Like sexual violence or abuse. I'm gonna charge out. Let's say no to a bunch of ugly shit, folks. Let's make a different sort of world.
It's our world.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happens.
Oh, I can still ruin this world, to be clear.
He ruins 3 worlds before lunchtime every day.
Yep.
Gosh, Galactus.
Pat Rothfuss, big fan of multiversal incursions. You've heard it here first.
Oh, and one other thing, in addition to just some things that we would like to maybe leave out, there's a mechanic that I first was introduced to for the Queen. And I know that y'all know about it, but I love to share it every time and make it clear that it's always welcome in any narrative game that I play. It's called the X card. Normally, if we're all sitting around a table in the perfect world that hopefully will return to us and we get to see each other with our human bodies in physical space, dream the dream. There's a card with an X on it on the table. And if something starts to happen and you're like, oh, I'm not feeling this. You reach out, you touch it and say, I'm going to X that. And immediately it happens. There's no vote. There doesn't need to be an explanation or discussion. And just, I know that everybody here is familiar with this, but I'll share with the chat. Because again, this didn't happen when I was a kid. And as a result, people ended up hurt and sad and confused and miserable after playing some RPGs. Sometimes their first experience ended up bad and they never came back, and that sucks. But I introduced this once at the table, and James D'Amato was helping me and my boys tell a game of For the Queen. And at one point, it was a space opera for the Queen, and I got a card and I got caught up in whatever, and I'm like, you know what? The Queen activates the Omega Protocol, which is a defense thing, and it irradiates everything for half a light year when the bandits are attacking. And my little boy, who was 7, who had heard about the X card for the first time and was playing this game for the first time, he reached out and he put his hand on it and he just looked at me and he's like, I don't like that. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's super gross what I just did. We don't need to kill a bunch of people. Oh my God, thank you, my child, who I have raised to be better than I am. We don't need to raise the stakes by just freaking murdering a bunch of people like chickens. We're better than that. And then I go, what about this? And he goes, still no. What if she doesn't actually use the Omega Protocol? And he's like, can we just not have that in this world at all? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. That sucks. Thank you. And I'm like, what a beautiful thing. And the game was better. The story was better. So I am going to echo James D'Amato, what I've heard him say 100 times. This does not need to be something that is linked to your particular trauma. If you're just not in the mood for something, exit and we will find a better way. That is the nature of this collaborative storytelling. And that's my jam, folks. So you don't need an X card to value the X card in any game you play, folks. But we're going to do it here too.
Love it. Great points. So Pat, should we just kind of get into it?
Let's barge right in. Give the baseline rules. I mean, I could try. No, you should do it. You're a facilitator. Yeah. I'm just all full of beans today.
So I've got our opening story, which I'll recite, and then I'll go over how turns work, how projects work, and then we'll just jump in. For a long time, we were at war with the jackals. Now, finally, we've driven them off, and we're left with this. A year of relative peace. One quiet year with which to build our community up and learn again how to work together. Come winter, the frost shepherds will arrive and we might not survive the encounter. This is when the game will end. But we don't know that yet. What we know is that right now, in this moment, there is an opportunity to build something. Specifically build something on our map. So before we get into the game, we're going to establish a little bit of the landscape. Does anyone have just a starting area that they have on the top of their brain they want to blurt out?
And this can literally be anything. I'll also say if nobody here has any ideas, feel free to chime in chat. I can't guarantee that we will do what you say, but feel free to play along in your own way in the chat if you like. Any ideas here? What sort of world? Is there a flavor you guys have been hankering for?
I feel like if we're going from jackals to frost shepherds, this is climate change, This is also, you have to understand, like, as someone in the entertainment industry, if you have a quiet year, it is the opposite of peaceful. So I just have to mentally adjust having a quiet year as being a good thing.
Right.
Our community will train a chorus of people that just scream from dawn till dusk to fill the year with noise and just be like, the silence is indeed terrifying, children. Come and join the chorus. Long, just screaming.
That's
Just lots-
kind of interesting. That silence is like weaponized.
What is it like? How about this? Given
We have chimes everywhere.
this quiet thing, what if, because I'm like, where's quiet? And what have we not done here? We had an island nation. We were in Kansas once, which ended up buck wild. Somebody suggested Kansas, and I'm like, this is more sci-fi than sci-fi, because I've never had anyone try to play this and say, we're in Kansas. We did one that was it turned out to be a planetoid. We just started with a gully, and eventually it was an orbiting moon somewhere. What if for our baseline, like where we are, what if we start with library? Because where does the quiet live? In a library, right? How do we feel about that? Do we start
I
there?
say follow the intention.
Okay.
It should be the first thing that comes to mind. And I love that we've got the quiet. I'm sure that there's going to be a bunch of very loud people coming in at some point. But that will be the first thing on our map, is some way to signify a library. And Julia will take that away.
And actually what I'm going to say is, if this is where we're starting, because a lot of times it's like, what's our base landscape? And it's like, desolate wasteland, and then things occur in there. What I'm going to say is our landscape is library. Mm-hmm. It is not a library in a place. I am saying our fundament. No, that's a but. Our foundation, our firmament is library.
You mean like, you must head west 3 days towards the plains of pages.
Yes.
The vast mountains of the spine, where fraying bookmarks travel on winds of shredded scrolls, like a big old paper book landscape.
I think we can confidently say we're all on the same page with this one.
Oh,
well done. You know what? That's it. Thanks for joining the stream.
That's our time. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, folks.
I didn't realize you could win a quiet year, but Bob won the quiet year.
What I'm thinking of, like, and I will admit, part of me wants to try to flex and say it's sort of like Gormenghast. I have not read Gormenghast, but apparently it's like everything happens just in this big house. The whole world is the house of Gormenghast. And there was a BBC series, which also I haven't seen. I just know it exists. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, is this is the library.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
The BBC Gormenghast, the theme slaps. There's a little kid, man, that kid hits a high note. Everyone go look up the theme song for the BBC Gormenghast. There's a little white raven, and a kid goes, I'm not even going to do it. The kid goes way up there. He goes, like way up there. And it's on the last A of, it's like, there's a place called Gormenghast. And then that last Gormenghast, it gets way up there.
That sounds way more rock and roll than I'd always thought it'd be, like kind of dark and gloomy and gothic, like in a world that is actually a house. I've got to check it out.
The pages for the ages.
Pat sometimes just references things and he makes them up, and I'm like, yeah, Gormenghast. I'm also familiar with the Bumblebunks. I'm just making up words here, but now I know I actually have to read this or watch this. That's great.
Dude, Mervyn Peake, Gormenghast. It's a classic. You gotta go back.
I'm gonna get learned this week. Fantastic. Cool. So we're starting with a library. Something James did in the other game that I'm gonna thieve from him is I want every one of our players to just name one thing about the landscape to help fill it in before we get to the actual game. Pat, I can see you're in contemplative mode.
I mean, it's one of the things I'm actually very proud of from my books. And I swear to God, I haven't done this in any other game, and I'm already feeling shame, but I want to do it because when I went to the Library of Congress, I'd shot up a signal flare and somebody's like, I'm a librarian there, want to look around? And I'm like, more than anything ever. And so they took me around, and this person told all the stories, like old librarian stories of the biggest library in America. And one of the stories was like, it used to be like all of the books were made out of like animal skin and wood pulp, and all glue was horse glue, and the bindings were leather. All of this is organic material. And also, like, it's colonial times and everything is gross, right? Everything was gross. And that, like, and everything eats like organic things. So what happens is you have you heard the term bookworm? Like, there's things that live in old books because old books were made all out of like animal stuff. And so this person would tell the story. You wouldn't just be like, oh, cool, bro, thanks for the book, we'll put it in the Library of Congress. You had to decontaminate them. So, what would happen, and they would tell the story, and this, like, but what technology nowadays, they have like a hermetic vault and they gas it and there's halon and whatever. And so like nothing gets in because we don't want shit to eat all of our books from the inside. But back then, what do? They told the story. They would bring in all the books into this room. And this is like Hamilton and Ben Franklin and shit doing this to make books safe. They take a log and they dip it in honey and they just throw it into the middle of the room. And then all the bugs would come out of the books to eat the honey. And they're like, done. Books are clean now. So what I'm proposing... And
you've just named our food resource.
Oh no. But, and somebody actually called it here in the chat. In the archives in my world, Kvothe once names all these different parts of the archives. And one of them is just a tiny little throwaway mention of the buggery. But that's the part of the archives, not where what you might think happens, but instead it's where they decontaminate books that are brought in. So we probably shouldn't call this, for the avoidance of doubt, we should not refer to this as the buggery. What could we call the decontamination place?
Also, because do you know that if you were to get buggered?
I do know. That was my joke. And I put it in the book very deliberately, but I don't know if we should bring that.
We need
here.
Cushions.
Yeah.
I actually was going to request like a recreational sort of area.
So Pat, let me see if I can get my gourd around this here.
Uh-huh.
An area of the world to decontaminate things that come into the world.
Oh.
But this seems to indicate that things from outside of our world come into our world.
Incursions.
This is why I want to play with you, Brendan.
Hit multiversal incursions. Aaron called it straight up. And you've already gone multiversal.
So how about this? I would say either maybe there is the outside, whatever we want to call it. It's between, it's the nothing, whatever. Or what if there is the civilized part of the library? Mm-hmm. And then there's the outlands, or whatever, but it's the place where something is made safe when it comes in.
Yeah. You don't want to know about those wild books out there beyond the edge.
Dirty.
No fact checkers, no peer review.
Oh my gosh. Okay, no. But
we don't go to nonfiction anymore.
But what do we call it? Is it's the
Someone said the squishery. I thought that was cool.
Squishery.
Good.
Because it's better than decontamination.
Decontamination is a little sterile.
Yeah. Unless we are the nation of decontam.
Decontam, semicolon, a nation.
Somebody came in with sanitarium. I like sanitarium because the implication is it needs to be sanitized, but maybe there's more going on there. Mm-hmm. Do we want to just stick on that for now and it can sort of grow in whatever direction we go?
I'm into it.
I'm going to be with Maud, and I'm going to say that the common folk refer to it as the squishery.
Yes.
The sanitarium. I don't trust Latin root words.
Yes.
And that's why we're still alive.
And that's why we're still alive, baby.
Okay, great. That's mine. Sorry it took so long. What else? What other areas, ideas, whatever that we want in here?
Well, what's going to be really interesting, and not again to dig into the stacks and the archives, but we are going to, I wonder about our light resource because there cannot be open flame in the library.
Yeah.
And is there sound that is allowed? Is the sound outside or is the sound inside? Like, is this like an airlock kind of thing where sound can escape? I'm going on tangents now. Slow me down.
An audio deprived section of the librarian where only sound is allowed?
Or do we use sound as like an expensive resource? Like you expand.
Is it a
sound.
Resource?
We're going to get to resources after we build these two parts.
So now we just need a couple other like landmarks or ideas or whatever. So we can throw out anything, even just a concept, and then we'll get to resources.
Yeah. If this is supposed to be a livable area, that was my dog. If this is supposed to be a livable area, I feel like we need to talk about sort of like the bunks or like, you know, the recreation, the resting, the kitchens or like the preparations if we're eating the bugs.
I love bunks. Bunks is a great name for like a living quarters or one section of living. That feels very...
Great.
Very proletariat, you know?
So you just carve out like the sci-fi sections, like that's where we're sleeping. Is it a specific part of the library?
You betcha. It's in the East Wing, actually.
Actually,
we got it.
Would it be like, have you ever seen, is this high class or low class? Because we've already said there's the people who don't trust the Latinates, right? Also, I am going to propose the Latinates are a specific tribe.
I like that.
But have you ever seen compact shelving that go in and out? What if the bunks are, you sleep in those?
Oh, wow.
But you are not high class, but maybe that is also a safe space. How do you feel about that?
Those records that like you have to wheel out?
You open the shelves or they slide together, but like you could have.
I was thinking Fifth Element, you know, like the sleeping quarters where you roll in, but then you press a button and you zoom. But it's like just a roll.
I like the roll in better. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm into that.
So, like a morgue body holder, somebody says.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Except,
because space. We don't have a lot of space.
Can it have like, and for the tall ones, can it have that ladder that goes up and that slides around and that's how you get in?
Oh, there's 100% going to be ladders on this. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Okay.
Is it really a big library if we don't have the ladder?
Yeah.
Moment.
Okay, so now we've got the bunks. And how
you
about,
have to lock the ladders in a particular position to open the doors for the bunk space.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So it also turns into like a panic room.
Yeah, I would say like, because you use them to get into your bunks, but then when you slide them back in front of the doors, they block the doors so nothing can get in. It's a safe space.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, Brennan, we have your landmark, artifact, whatever you'd like to add to our world so far.
At the base of a linguistics tower, in the very bottom of the basement, is a place called the Incognium, which is essentially, I think, the Latinate social strata has their version of a like Dewey Decimal organization, a thing that's like how we, because that's what library science is, right? It's library science is about managing the storage of information. So it's about like decimal system, and the Incognium, which is also sometimes like can be referred to as like the Hall of Lost Glyphs, has to do with all the stuff that comes in back from the Outlands. That it's not just that it's like there are places where they are working on decoding languages. Like sometimes book material comes back and it's like, what language is that? We don't know, but we can tell it's got the same alphabet as this other stuff. The Incognium is where it's like, this could be language, or this could be drawing, or this could be a weird stain, and it all goes into this place that is like seen by the people who work there as the center of the most interesting work happening at the edge of language and understanding, but by the Dewey Decimal people is seen as, this is where we put all the shit that freaks us out and gives us an anxiety attack, and it's never really going to get solved. It just goes to this place and we forget about it there.
Julia, you went dark on us. Do you need?
That's the incognitoium. Or I'm sorry, what are we calling it?
That's the Umbrium.
The Incognium.
The Incognium.
Oh, I wonder if maybe
this is what the Incognium looks like.
Julia, we'll give Julia a moment to come back. I mean, she might have had a computer trickiness, so we'll take notes for her while she is here, or while she is dealing with that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, does the Incognium, does that send out like a rover to kind of collect all of these artifacts and leftover abandoned materials for us to kind of sift through and dissect and gain knowledge?
Well, I kind of feel like there's a whole other social element to our community of the rough and tumble customers that actually head out beyond the community to go get the shit. I feel like the Incognium is a bunch of low status, you know, kind of like, it's like the people, it's like the X-Files, right? They're the people that are like, well, we didn't really know the political power structure of the academic circles, but we're here in the basement working with the weird stuff. And then the people that are like riding out to actually get the weird, rare stuff is like a different strata of the civilization.
I like it.
Yeah.
They're like the
Julia?
tome travelers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Ooh,
God.
I love that.
Yes.
The Tome Traveler.
Oh,
Yeah,
dang.
You're welcome.
If we can really punt it up, I want there to be a security system called the guard catalog where people can just enlist easily. Julia needs a hard restart on the computer, but she'll be back.
Okay.
I think this is actually a good spot for us to go over some of the mechanics of the game, since we fleshed out some of our worlds.
I love our world.
It's very, very cool. It's very booky. I'm super into it. So I am going to be pulling cards from this deck. Each card in this deck corresponds to a question that I'm going to be asking our players. Our players are then going to be answering that question, and then they have the option to either discover something new, hold a discussion, or start a project. If they discover something new, that could be, you know, something in the library that is suspect. It could also be a problem. It could be, you know, some sort of ethereal issue that people have to, you know, combat. They could hold a discussion, which means maybe a group of people want to propose something to another group of people, and our players will have that discussion. Or they can start a project, which would be, I think there should be a water cooler at the end of this row of the library. So we'll have a project to create a water cooler, and I will ask the players, how long is it going to take to make this water cooler? 1 week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks? And over the course of the game, every turn, that week is going to tick down. And once it gets to 0, the project is made and placed onto the map.
So just to reiterate, because Julie will write these down when she comes back. It is discover. And again, for real, it could be like the bones of an ancient beast. Done. It's like somebody, like broken windows all through X, you know? So, and it could discover an event, discover an object, anything. A discussion, in which there's sort of like a town hall where each of us either invent a character or use a character that's already been established, and we all speak it's like, you know, do we want to burn down the Incognium, you know? And then everyone voices an opinion, and you get to see how the community feels. or start a project, and it's literally any project meant to achieve something or do a resource thing. It's all very open, but those are the three. And Aaron, how about this? I know because Julia just came back, she will probably need a new OBS Ninja link.
Oh, I already sent it to you, my guy.
Oh, then I'm the one that needs to do it.
Yep, I'm back. That was the most terrifying computer experience of my life.
no.
I am so sorry.
I think it's actually our universe, the libraries.
Yeah.
Books are trying to destroy all technology.
Oh my gosh. The narrative is too strong.
We always knew it would happen this way.
And forgive me for 1 second. How about this? I'll let you keep going, but I can't do one thing at once. So I'm going to take off my headphones. Aaron, if you want to talk them through resources, I'll plug this in.
Yeah. So resources. Each one of our players is going to tell us a resource that exists in this world. But here's the catch. 2 of these resources will be abundant. One of them we will have to decide to be scarce. So thinking about the world that we live in the game, not this world, thinking about the world that we have created, does any one of our players want to tell us a resource that we have in this world?
So some of the resources that we've been spitballing have been literal sound as a resource. I think information, knowledge is also a resource, which is why we are researchers in a way, in a library. And I still think that we're eating the crawlies in the book, but I'm like the only one who's on board with that.
I really love the idea. I mean, if we want to put down crawlies to eat, I think that's fun. Let's get weird with it. But I'm also really
Tuna
gravitating
matata,
towards
baby.
sound.
I love the thing you brought up before, which is light, because if this is an internal place, right? Then okay, I've got an idea for that. I didn't have one before, but do we, rather than just be general and say light or food or whatever, could I sort of, not quite a yes and, like a yes and slightly sideways, what if instead of crawlies, what if they're crowlies, where there are a certain section of occult tomes which are possessed of some manner of eldritch power, this old knowledge, and so things sort of tend to come through them, and these are pests and they are bad, but also in the outer reaches of the library, however that's going to turn out, these are around. And so like little ones, it's like, yeah, a little bit like bugs and they kind of crawl around, but like maybe they're not just bugs. Maybe these are things that manifest from somewhere else or from these books. Is that, do we want to go eldritch with this?
If they're like wisp-ish, are they also our light source?
Ooh.
Wisps.
But I want to leave this to not me. I have an idea for light that I'll pitch, but for food,
We're eating eldritch.
well, that's just an idea.
Wow.
If somebody else has a different
Eldritch
idea,
wisps.
please throw it out there, because that's just a thought.
I could eat wisps of evil. Yeah, I eat it for breakfast.
Mods down for it. I like. Okay, has anybody read the Ray Bradbury story where a man creates glass and the light that goes into it comes out years later?
No.
It's an old fucking Bradbury, man. Nobody ever before or since, dude, would write a story that's 6 pages long. You'll remember it 40 years later. It'll make you cry. But so here's what it is there. And this is not what he did, but this is what I'm doing. We have a resource, and it is glass that when whatever goes into one side, it effectively travels through the glass so slowly. And so what, like, you could have glass that it was mere 24 hours later. So whatever was on one side of the glass, you would see on the other side 24 hours later. But other types of glass or thicknesses, however it's created, it could be 6 months. It could be 10 years. I'm pitching this as a resource. It's called...
The 90s internet.
Dial up.
Yeah.
It's called... Oh, help me out.
Hold on, what was that gas? What was the show that I thought was like intestinal damage, but it was a show that existed?
Ooh.
With the high note intro that we were just talking about, that everyone
Gorman
knew.
gas?
Oh, it's
Gorman gas.
Gorman glass.
Gorman glass.
Gosh, thank you. I knew somebody would be able to do better than like Lumen or whatever I was coming up with in my head. Gorman glass.
We don't do Latin based.
Uh,
Gosh, darn it. There's one rule.
But also in the chat, the person who was like hourglass, like gold star.
Oh, that's really good.
And so here's my pitch is that this exists. I would argue that maybe there's a couple people who could make it. It's a very like sort of secret process, or it's very hard to do. It's a real artisan craft thing, but also it does exist. And if you find a piece of this glass, sometimes what's there is it was in a window. And if you just watch it, you could see people from 100 years ago. You don't know how long ago. Or maybe somebody's going to read a book and you could see the pages turning, but you don't know what's going to be there. And it is a 1-for-1 ratio. But I think that a lot of this glass is used. There are the sunlit lands. There's a particular part of the library where there are windows where the sun comes in, and it's not good for books and it's dangerous to get to, but they lay the glass out there and it absorbs the sunlight, and then they bring it back. And then for however long the glass holds that light. Some of them are like 2 days. Okay. But some of them are like 10 years worth of light in this glass. And it pours out. So this Gorman glass is so useful for so many things. It could be a security system. It could be a way of sending messages, you know. It's a way to discover mysteries, but also mainly like it is the easy, safe way to get light. That how else do you get
memory?
Light and memory and all of that.
So this sounds like that when you venture outside of the library and you look up into the skies, it's essentially this glass window, and some of it has shattered into millions of pieces scattered in the tundra outside of the sanitarium. And we have to collect those shards to piece back together the memories, but also use it as a light resource. Am I on the same page?
I think is all of this world inside different sorts of building, or can we see outside?
I thought the lower, not the minion, but like we were talking that there's the hierarchy, and that those that worked to collect the debris and to collect the trinkets and there were like scouts that would go out with their carts to collect everything that had been sort of scattered out there. And then there was a department inside, I thought, that would try to identify or categorize these things, but they were too busy having panic attacks from the anxiety. I swear this is what we'd been talking about. I'm the incognium.
Right. Yeah.
Brennan, help me.
Yeah.
So yes, I think my pitch would be that the scale of the library is so much vaster that we're not it's like how Gorman gassed is the entire world, right? So the sky is glass, and there are places where that glass has broken, like the windows, right? And so there's almost a mixture of, like, depending geographically where you are in this world, you're either looking at like empty blackness, like nighttime sky, and that's like a shuttered window, or there's places where the windows are open and it's entire ranges, geographical areas of like sunlight coming through. But it's alien, vast. You wouldn't think about it in terms of like, it's not like our world is the library and the adjacent world is the rec center. Like that's, you know, the it's like alien and weird and bizarre, and the people that live there don't think about it.
In a way, you have just described the ozone hole near Australia, and our sun is a lot worse than your sun.
Exactly. I think there are parts, like maybe there are parts of the library where not just, because I will admit I was thinking of it as like just extending in directions for miles, but it going up to like a vast degree. Like imagine, like we have sort of the used part, sort of the civilized part of the library, but there's probably a part where far up above, now it rains in there and all of those books are just ruined, and it's dank and it's just moldy.
Swamp library. But also there's like it could even be that it's civilized here, but you can climb up beyond it and eventually there are windows, but they're so like you could explore out, but also up or down. It's almost like infinite in all directions.
There's an area outside of the community in the sort of outlands. I'm going to pitch that it's called the Stacks, and it's like Monument Valley fairy chimneys of massive books that go up like 20 miles. So you can literally climb to like the outer edge of the atmosphere. And some people go there to like mine glass from the top of the sky.
Oh my God, yes.
And you're almost guaranteed to lose some people doing that. It's like incredibly deadly, an incredibly deadly adventure to go up to the top of the Stacks and get more glass.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like you also fear collapse, like the Stacks. And so sometimes it will collapse, but something happens that restacks the book sometimes, and nobody knows what does that.
Okay.
But we are going to figure that out because we have 2 out of our 3 resources. We
haven't even started playing the game yet.
No, this is great. You get on a roll, and I'm just back here being like, I'm going to write all these notes. We're good. So we've got the Gorman Glass, and we've got the Eldritch Wisps, and I believe those were from Pat and Maud, which means, Brennan, you have to introduce a resource that we're going to be using in this game. Which resource, whatever you want, exists in this world?
Our food is the Eldritch Wisp, is it not?
Yeah,
that's what we consume.
Food is the Eldritch Wisps, and then our light source is Gorman Glass. Yeah. Maud pitched our third one being information, and I think knowledge is it, because I think that this world is incredibly hard and dangerous to live in, and there are most of the books that compose our world don't seem to pertain to our reality, but some do. Some do.
Those stacks of books feel like they've been sort of absorbed and then discarded. So they're almost like skeletal bones of the remains of these books, of which the knowledge has been extracted from it.
So like relevant, what that means is this part of the library, it's not like this was all once our place. It's like this is the library where we have found books and brought them in. It could be that the relevant informational books, it could be there's like 400 books that are like readable and have knowable things.
So relevant knowledge.
Actually,
I like relevant knowledge as a third resource, because relevant can mean a lot of different things over the course of this game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, can we keep them? Oh, sorry, play the board set it in a way, but I can imagine that there's like in the restricted section, in what's the protected area, there is a ledge where we keep these books. Knowledge.
A precarious ledge.
Yep.
Yeah. Of knowledge. The knowledge.
The knowledge. I love that.
Well done.
And I think also it makes it fun in terms of the incognium and everything, that like, you can go mining for knowledge out in the swamps, but the books are all deteriorated and gross, and there's nasty bugs and occult things out there. And any book that you find, you probably will just take pulp and like rotting stuff up with all the ink gone. So it's almost like you're trying to go to places and find relevant knowledge with books that are A, in a readable language, and that B, you can get back safely to the sanitarium and to everything else. That feels very cool. It feels like that's the what's the word I'm looking for? There are like a couple of places to go out and look for relevant knowledge, but depending on where we are in our year, it's like we've been at war with the jackals or whatever, that there's this idea of like, we have some leads about where other places that maybe we can find more knowledge are, but they're like few and far between, right?
We have to obviously acknowledge the original name of the jackals, and that's Comic Sans.
The jackals come from the Comic Sans.
Oh my God. Yes. The Comic
Sans. It's all newsprint. So it's all yellowing. And
love it.
Yeah.
And they're called the jackals because that's the name of the comic strip that they all emerged from.
Oh,
yes,
either they're from there or they have styled themselves off of popular niche 30s comic, The Jackalsons, which is like a weird, unfortunately, somehow dated. Oh boy.
All right, so I'm gonna lasso this hurricane so that we can decide. One of these resources is going to be abundant. The other two are going to be scarce.
Okay.
So out of
so Julia, I'll say go ahead and put relevant knowledge there. Do we want one more? Like 4 is also a good number. Like to have one extra resource.
Because I feel like light and food are on the less side.
We have light, food, knowledge, and real quick, Aaron or Julia, do you have one, or chat? Do you want to? Like this could be something a little more tangible.
Oh, I do have one. Sorry, yeah. I just think that for an abundant resource, leather is going to be a great one. When you were talking before about how like that old school book libraries, they've got they're leather bound. I think leather is a resource. Like that's what we're wearing. That's sort of like what building designs
that's
are.
excellent.
Yeah,
leather, and that's abundant. So we obviously have an abundance of leather.
I'm gonna say, can I say something really creepy?
Yeah.
I feel like leather being abundant might say something about what we do with our dead in this post-apocalyptic.
But what an honor!
But we are resourceful.
Oh no! I will say also, it's like it's an honor to be used to bind a book. Mm-hmm. But it's a social status thing. It's like, it's not as cool. It's like, congratulations, you're going to be pants. Like you're a sack. Wally, sorry, you live in the bunks. It's sack for you. Leather.
Leather is abundant and the rest are scarce.
That's kind of
we only get to pick one abundance is the thing. So you were going to say though, Brendan? Or Brendan?
No, I was just gonna say I love the idea of it feels very Waterworld, of we gotta make every little bit count. And also I was just thinking about I was just talking about giving your body to science, which is something that my grandfather did when he passed, something that I want to do when I pass.
I feel good about that too. Yeah.
Get some more use out of me when I check out.
Yeah.
Oh my goch, that's actually quite interesting.
When you check out, Brennan.
You check out of the library.
Check it.
It's
checking out.
That's great.
He checked out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Pat, you invited me to add a resource, so I'm going to do it. A scarce resource. Old keys.
Keys. I just love keys. I'm sorry, I got really excited.
Open doors? Who knows?
I love it as a resource, and we'll build from there. Yeah.
Great.
So we've got scarce keys, scarce relevant knowledge, eldritch wisps, which are the food, and Gormanglass. But y'all got a lot of leather, so I'm sure everything's going to be just fine.
I also have a jingle ready for eldritch wisps because I imagine I'm picturing it now. At first, I was like, I made a creepy thing. Now I'm picturing it. Eldritch wisps does sound like a weird snack food to me. Like you open a package.
Oh, yes.
It's like, it's eldritch wisps. They're tasty. Yeah, crunch. Except you chew it and there's just a distant scream.
Oh my god.
I like the idea that no eldritch wisp sounds the same.
Oh boy.
It's always a
Right.
different crunch.
And that's the tagline.
Always a different crunch.
Always a different scream. Eldritch wisps.
But I mean, that plays on what we were talking about with silence and sound. Like if you consume a scream, that keeps you sustained, like that's a sustenance.
Okay. No, we got it. We got to start doing
gotta
turns.
start.
We got to start doing turns.
Yeah.
We are playing the game, but we're not playing the game. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to start with Brennan. I'm going to pull the card, which signifies a week in this quiet year. And I'm going to ask you a question. You tell me the answer. You ready, Brennan?
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. Brennan.
Yeah.
There is a disquieting legend about this place. What is it? Disquieting. Wow, that's appropriate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's a disquieting legend about this place. I think the legend that is the most disquieting to us about this place, there's a big sense of us doing these tasks feels like we are restoring the world to some degree, and feels like there's some degree of us being like, okay, we're getting to the bottom of it, we're solving the mystery of this place. And I think the legend that started up a while ago, once the incursions of the wisps and things bigger and worse than the wisps started coming through, and the fact that our food chain is based on extraplanar entities, the legend basically started of, if we can't eat anything from this place and our food chain originates in other realms, the legend that basically started was, we're not from here. And if we're not from here, we're essentially another, like, we are the aliens that we're afraid of. We are the, like, whatever, the weird occult, like the Crowleys, the weird so some chittering, multi-fanged, mandibled, 8-story praying mantis zooms over the sky. And it's like, we're that. And that sort of legend started of the real force that put us in this place is as like dark and terrifying and unknowable as we are, but we just tell a story about being here that makes us feel good about it.
Yeah, because I mean, you have so few relevant knowledge that, like, how are you to know? You have to make this legend in order to cope. That makes total sense.
I feel like here there is an entire self-help section on existential crisis.
It's self-help, but it's not relevant. I can't help.
It's not relevant.
Myself.
Yeah.
Brennan, beautiful, which means for the end of your turn, you can either discover something new, hold a discussion, or start a project. What you want to do?
Sorry, wait. What are the options presented to us?
And Julia, can you put those under the resources? It's the discover
something new.
Oh, yes.
Discuss.
Hold a discussion or start a project.
Let's discover something new.
Let's do it.
And then you just get to make your beautiful brain baby. It can be any damn thing.
We just discover something new, and it can be absolutely anything.
You just choose
whatever you want.
We found a series of empty comic strips after the Jackal War. This is the first week after the Jackal War ended. We found a series of empty comic strips, and it has fueled an earlier belief that while text is beautiful and wonderful, Julia, I'm very sorry, drawings are very dangerous. And we think and we think the jackals started as drawings. And there's a big conversation, a lot of the eggheads up in the sanitarium or in the linguistics tower, you know, what's the difference between a letter and a drawing, and aren't they, you know, where that's a spectrum and not a clear delineation. But amongst other folk, it's like the jackals started as drawings. That's what they started as, and they came through, and that's why they were dangerous.
And so what we find is a cache of empty panels, and we don't know what came out of it.
Yes.
Dang.
It's like Garfield without Garfield.
That's like the Velociraptor eggs.
I love that. I love that.
That's super, super good. Pat?
Yeah.
I'm on to you now. I'm on to you, Rothfuss. And I pulled your card. Pat, I got to ask you, are there distinct family units in the community? If so, what family structures are common?
Ooh. And I'm tempted. What if this was, and I want to ask Brennan and Maud here, because sometimes it's like the world is thousands of people and many settlements or whatever, but sometimes it's like everything, you know, it could be smaller. It could be like 200-300 people here, like which sort of the library is vast, and 200 people is kind of a lot of people, but it's kind of a few people for like a civilization, which is like we are an entire intact community, maybe like 300-400. How do we feel about that?
I would go up in number, because the fact that we have hierarchies and social classes.
We need a little more for that. Yeah.
And I feel like out of all the other areas, like people would have colonized like the swamp area, and now they've kind of like, you know.
Okay. I do like that better than because like one house, one tiny town, a farm, that's one sort of story. But like if it's bigger, then we can have an outpost and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll say maybe a couple thousand people. Well, nobody really knows, because I think there's potentially lost colonies. People went out to be like a waypost or a stop, a defense, whatever, or maybe they're lost or whatever, but a couple thousand people. So for family units, in that case, how do we feel about a caste system? But also it is kind of socialist, and like a group of people who are all sort of in the same social caste. The fact that if there's all the social class and they all are a family unit and they all sort of take care of each other, that's a cool concept, but I think it gets very weird and maybe racist quick.
I feel like it's a little ancestral. I mean, I think we've kind of discovered that we are wearing our ancestors.
Ooh.
You were going to say something, Brendan? I thought I saw a...
I think that there's there's something about this. This is like a very haunted. I don't know. I've been playing some games where, like, this feels very like Kingdom Death to me almost. This is like a very haunted world, and also I think there's a lot of questions in this world that we're building that do have a thing of almost like we don't know if like the project of this community is kind of existentially good or bad, or like there's big questions about like sort of this very Tom Waits, like what is he building in there, that kind of vibe of like what is this knowledge we're seeking, should we be here, what's going on? So in terms of the family structure, I feel and we don't have to go this way if we don't want, but it feels like there are elements of this culture that are very dystopian and bleak, and this is not a place that sounds like it would be nice to live. So there's almost a part of me that's like wanting to sort children by aptitude at a very early age sort children bad at a very early age and make them start to identify with what the culture needs from them.
Oh my God.
Before,
Which is, that's a reflection of the entire everything, because you bring in things and you're like, where does this belong? This is pulp.
Yes.
It's like, this is dangerous. We're going to reclaim this leather, but otherwise it's garbage. This should be burned, and we're going to use this to cook with. But so everything is sifted according to a set of values. And so I will say the children go to a creche. And then at a certain point, you're tested, and what is needed and what is your aptitude. And then, so in that respect, there's no it's taboo to wonder who your parents are.
I also think that there's a really fun way to simplify it, and Play the Board mentioned it in the comment, and I would love to yes and it. Each section in this vast giant library is a genre. So the aptitude test selects and puts you into a genre. Are you history? So are you collecting of memories? Are you thriller, crime? Are you in the subsections? Yes.
I want yes and both, because you have a job. However, who remembers Kurt Vonnegut in one of his books?
Cat's Cradle.
There was Cat's Cradle is my first and favorite, but there was one of the presidents in one of these books said, you know what? Everybody gets a new middle name. You're dandelions. And so suddenly you had something in common with a huge swath of humanity. It's like, you're a biker. I'm a potter, but we're both dandelions. Suddenly we have something in common that transcends class. So I think when you're born, they do test you into a job, but you are always still mystery. And that is determined by some sort of arcane process. There's somebody who does, like, whatever, not a sorting hat, and it doesn't define you, but that is what makes this caste system sustainable, is you can still interact and have something in common with other mysteries, even though they work in oubliette and you are in the bunks. So I like that's what the family is. You're a family of mystery.
And Pat, at the risk of not making it all the way through spring before the end of the game, I think that's a very complete thought, which means you get to discover something, start a project, or start a discussion.
I feel like that was the discovery.
I think so. That's and that's what I like about this game is, if you have a cool idea, just twist whatever your question is into doing the thing that you wanted to bring into the world. Or at least if you're me, that's what you do. I'm gonna say, and in this respect, your family is all of these people in your genre. And you have a closeness to them and a connection, and you can trust them, and you take care of each other. And but also, I'm just gonna throw let's talk about poly. This is a sex positive culture, and it is also poly because you're transcending like different class structures all the time. And since the babies go somewhere else, everybody kind of just
no attachment. Oy.
Yep. Well, yeah. Or there is, but it's very taboo. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And everyone can tell me I'm wrong. And this is a curveball. Should these people be bugs? Should these be bugs?
Always yes.
Because I'm just thinking about the idea of having we've said the world is incredibly deadly, but we have a culture with a lot of stuff going on. It could be very interesting to think about just big hatcheries and broods of children that have significance and relationships and love and culture and stuff. But I just think that our attitudes around how deadly and dangerous the world is changes a lot. Bookworms from Julia. Yeah, it changes a lot. It, like, the way you like, if you are having hundreds or thousands of children, it just a little bit changes the, like, it's like, oh, yeah, I love my family, but also people die. People
It's a
are
hive mind.
It's a hive mind.
Yeah.
People are dying
Yeah.
by the tons and tons and tons. And it's like, yep, that expedition went out to go get more Gorman glass. They all died. That was 800 people that died right there. And it's like, oh man, that's almost that's like 1/20th of my children. You know, like it's the idea of
leather.
You know, it's like that. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. Is that weird? I like bugs.
That's super weird. We've in none of the other games have we questioned. It's like, oh, we're all just people wherever, and we can still be people, but also bugs.
It makes me feel better about wearing my ancestors on my body. I'll admit that. Yeah.
Are we all the same kind of bug, or is it many kinds of bugs, or are there bugs and people?
I feel like it depends which section of the library you've gone into.
Pat, this feels like your start a discussion for your turn, by the way.
Well, no, because this is establishing a world fact as opposed to the community. The community isn't like, are we all bugs or some of us people?
I have a dilemma. Am I a bug? And it just becomes in like a philosophical conversation.
So
we'd have to go to the philosophy section to get our answers.
Is everyone here the same type of let's just say chitin forward person?
I'll pitch. I think that at least in the central community, like where the sanitarium and the incognium and all that stuff is, I think it's both. I think it's one species, but it's a multi-formal species like ants.
Oh,
where it's like,
yes. Oh, so you're not tested. You're given some of this jelly, or you're put through this process, and it's like, now I'm a shelver, and you've got all the arms, you know?
Only some of them have wings, but that would explain how we can get to the top.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so glad. Brendan, thank you for bugs.
We're bugs, baby.
Oh, so
baby.
good.
Baby, we are bugs.
Okay.
Finally.
And so the project is somebody is like, we don't just want this knowledge and we want to keep these books. We do need to like maintain it, not just shelve it, protect it, catalog it. We need to be able to replace books. And this means paper is okay. We find pages. Oh, we constantly find pages that are blank and the suspicion is they had pictures on them. But what is in short supply is ink. We have no ink. Ink is so hard to come by. And so it's a project. How can we make ink? It's like, how can we create an ink or find? So
it's like a research project.
I got an idea for that one.
Research project. What are they researching, Maud?
Well, in the incognium, you need to grease the wheel, surely. So I think the working bees that are in the incognium that are sort of like, sorting through all the resources and the trinkets and the discoveries and the mandible, like whatever, everything that was on the ground, whether was dead or never alive, they're sifting through to try and find the glass. But what are they doing to everything else? Is there a way that we could burn it and then somehow wet the soot? I think from that, and that's your ink.
That's the research project, is how do we turn something that already comes into ink? Because they've tried in the past. Sometimes somebody gets lucky and they find a bottle of ink, or they find an old lantern and they use the lamp black. But like, there's none of that new being made. It's like, can we make ink? And I'm going to say this has been tried before. This is a hard, this is 5 weeks it's going to take to do this science.
Weeks.
Wow.
5 whole weeks. All right.
Because you can't think without ink.
Boom. But the idea, Maud, is literally like using the Gorman glass and instead of ink, like charring paper with like soot as like our version of ink.
Yes.
That's so sick.
Yeah, that is so good. Like, can we make it? Can we make it
Incredibly
work?
dangerous, because if you go even a little past into the red, you could start a fire.
Mhm.
Which has got to be, fire's got to be like the Cthulhu of this world.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
the idea of like starting, it's like, well, what if we focus? Like, these bugs don't even know they're working on the Manhattan Project. Like, they think they're trying to make ink. Baby, you're gonna set the world on fire. Watch out.
That's right. They don't need to cook their bugs. So like, there's Julia, dress a bug person.
Oh, little glasses. I love it.
I'm happy that we have a nice, relatable dilemma for this game. Fantastic. As we move into the third week of spring, we move on to Maud. Maud, I pulled for your card. The question is, oh, this is pretty good. You get a choice of two. Choose between a young boy starts digging in the ground and discovers something unexpected. What is it? Or an old man confesses to past crimes and atrocities. What has he done?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I feel like we've done discovery, and we're now working on a discovery. So I want to focus on an atrocity. And I think the fact that this is, we've established that whatever section you have been cast into, I like that there is sort of like the elder are literally recycled. When you die, you become a part and you are like, the sum of the whole. But what could this older person have done? Something to do, maybe they know where all the drawings are going.
What if they're an artist?
The jackal drawings?
I
What if
like that.
They're an artist. They've secretly been drawing all this time different things.
Pages within these books, but you don't know which book that the drawing has been slid into the pages of.
And it's like, where's your drawings? It's like, I didn't want to get caught with them. They've hidden them all over the place. But now they're senile. They don't remember where the drawings were.
And they were also drawing memories, things that happened older, but also things that could be the cure for us. So if this drawing does come to life, what if he's drawn flame? But what if he's also drawn sort of like something else that could save us from everything? I like that. There you go.
Yeah.
His dying wish as he dies. I am an artist.
Yeah, that's
pages of drawings.
That's a deathbed thing. What's dude's name? Was he a respected member of the community? And so this was like a shocking revelation.
I think he was in the culture section, the genre. So he was collating sort of like a historian, something that he was basically passing information from generation to generation. And he was the last to sort of have this information. And that was the way, like he drew the information and the memories that was passed down to him because he didn't know how to write. He could only draw. He was illiterate.
Is writing things down kind of taboo?
Is that little bug man on the map now? Is that the old man that confessed to the crimes? I love that.
Illiterate.
I'm a little tiny criminal.
Yeah.
I'm a bad boy.
I'm a pervert. I love to draw.
Here on my deathbed, I confess to my art crimes.
I want his name to be Artie.
Artie, thank you.
And because when he died, he spilled the art tea.
Spilled the Artie.
Well done. That's great.
Also, his Artie culture, because that's your family.
Yes, that's his name. Yeah. Artie culture. I like that. There you go. That was the thing.
Yep. And so now.
So Maud, you get to discover something new, hold a discussion, or start a project.
I'm a little bit concerned about the little resource we have of the glass, the food, knowledge, and keys. I wonder if the keys have anything to do with unlocking more knowledge. And I wonder if there's a way to forge or make keys from the glass. Which one is a more important resource? I wouldn't mind starting a project that at least ramps up somewhat of an abundance of one of these resources.
You could start an expedition to Glasslands or the Sunward or somewhere.
Yes, I like that. What is it called? Gosman?
The Gorman glass.
Gorman. Yes, I want to take the Normans to get the Gormans, please.
All I imagine is one of my favorite performers, Burn Gorman of Pacific Rim fame, all over this world. If you don't know who he is, I guarantee you know him. Just look him up.
Burn Gorman?
Burn Gorman. If you have seen Pacific Rim, you'd be like, oh, that guy. He's one of those people that you're like, oh, him.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, right? All right, so the Gorman Glass Expedition.
Yes.
Love it.
I feel like this is somewhat of a regular expedition. The tracks are kind of in the ground up glass path, which is another word for sand, on the way to the sand comic sands. This will only take sort of 2 or 3 weeks, I feel.
All right.
Yeah, this is tried and tested.
Simple.
We're just wanting to up the glass from being sparse to slightly more abundant.
Yeah.
Rad. Love it.
Yeah, cool.
And that is
Because
actually
I feel like I'm the only one that cares about the fact that we have nothing really to eat or there's not much light. No worries, but yeah, a bit concerning.
all these essentials. Sure.
Yeah.
That is going to bring us to the end of spring. We've got summer, autumn, and winter impending in front of us, but we're also a little bit past half. So if anyone needs to take a bio break, now is the time. Pat, I think this might be a good opportunity for you to tell us about why we're playing this game.
Hey there, everybody. I once accidentally started a charity on my blog without meaning to, and then it kept happening again and again. And over the years, Worldbuilders has raised about $15 million for various charitable causes, like food sustainability all over the world, or Syrian refugees, or getting books into the hands of kids who literally have no books. There's a charity that we've worked with called First Book, because most of us, if you're here now and you know who I am, I'm guessing you grew up with books in your house. And on average, people that go to college, the number of books kids have in the house is like 16, 17. But there are parts of the country where if you average how many children there are versus how many books are in their house, it is several children to one book. And so Worldbuilders, well, how about this? I was so angry. And so we worked with a place called First Book that just gives kids books. And boy, how relevant to this particular dealio, right? Imagine what your life would have been like as a kid if you had not had books to read from or to be read from. And the stories that charity First Book would tell about, like, these kids would show up and they would show them the book and they'd read them the book and then they'd give it to them. And the kids would be like, what do you mean I get to take it home? So that's one of the things Worldbuilders has done. Hurricane relief in Puerto Rico. We try to make the world a better place. We do various types of fundraisers. We reach out to the geek community because, generally speaking, geeks are people with hearts as big as the sky, and we have an overabundance of empathy, and it makes the world hard to live in, and we want to help all the time. Unfortunately, we also tend to be smart, and so we're skeptical that charities might be scamming us, because some charities are for real scamming us, or they're bad at their jobs. So then you have option paralysis. Oh no, how do I make the world a better place? World Builders vets charities. We make sure that they're A+. We make sure that they do the work, that it's not some lawyer making $100 and then a nickel goes to buying somebody porridge. And we also do fundraisers and events and try to raise awareness of various things. And that usually tends to happen at the end of the year, our big end of year fundraiser that centers around Heifer International, which feeds hungry kids. And helps parents know what they're going to do to feed their kids in the future. Yeah, and thank you, everybody in there. 15 million? Yeah, I'm real proud of it. But you know what? It's us, folks. It's because geeks are awesome. That's why we're calling this the Geeks Doing Good fundraiser, because in order to keep all of this going, we need a website, we need to make graphics, we do events. We need to ship the prizes at the end of the year because we give away books. And because of that, you need money. Money is the grist that makes this mill move. And so what we're doing now is called Geeks Doing Good. We raise awareness of the fact, let me see if I can screw everything up by going into a different scene here.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Now everything's going to be bad. So if, say, I were to try to get OBS to look at Chrome. Hey, OBS. Hey, we're friends.
Hello, Pat.
Oh, you've become sentient.
Yes, hello.
Could you please show Chrome, OBS? My Chrome
just
browser?
1 second. 1 moment.
I mean, what you just said actually literally made me in the real world hopeful, but then I realized it was just Aaron pretending, and then I was sad again because I realized I have to do it.
Oh, Pat, that wasn't me. We may have a haunting.
It's a haint. Dang it. You know what? I'm so tired of you. There it is. Oh, I'm sorry I got angry. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean what I said.
Okay.
Okay, so bang, here we go. One of the things we do to keep
that. We have more money than that in the Indiegogo so far.
No. Here's the thing. We have a store because in addition to wanting to feed people and stop hurricanes and fix every damn thing in the world, because I have ADHD, we also like helping in different ways because, maybe you sell books in a comic and you want to have a t-shirt for your people who love your stuff. World Builders will do that. Or maybe you're me and you make a weird game based in your world because why not do that? And so then we sell it in the store. But not a lot of people know about our store. So what happens is once a year we do something called Geeks Doing Good. We launch a few new partnerships. We try out some things. I do hope to eventually have a Mossbrow action figure of some sort. That was a little too much for us to bite off and chew this year. But what we do here is, see, if you're into the talent pipes, we have a Pride pin because Pride isn't just in June. You can have Pride and show your colors all year. Spider-Man Social Dilemma by Preeti, who was on here doing an interview. If you're into Skyjacks, which is amazing, and I'm into it, they have their bandanas that we help them make and produce. Karen Hallian prints. The Anchors mug, which I designed with Julia. All of this stuff, if you come in and you buy it, you get a cool thing because you love cool geek shit. Creators make money, artists get paid, and the extra goes to do charity, right? So you can come on over here, and then there's books. Or if you have enough stuff and you want to push back against capitalism, do that. And then you could just, hit this one, $42. You know what 42 is about. Just give us some money and we'll do charity. We'll do good stuff in the world with it, period. And we're about to hit 20K, which was our initial sort of goal here. And it looks like we're creeping up on it. Also, notably, if you're into Quiet Year, you can buy a copy of it here. We reached out. We have managed to get this from Avery, and we're selling it with their blessing and their permission. It's so if you like the games we're playing and you want to do something similar, you can buy this from us. They make money. The charity makes money. You get a cool game. The world gets better. Everybody wins. So come on over here, have a looky-loo at a bunch of different things. And, pick up something for yourself. Treat yourself. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We've got we got a first edition of Name of the Wind. And, of course, the infamous Patrick Rothfuss favor ring, which is if you buy that thing, and somebody always does, and then I have to do you a favor in the future, which is terrifying. So we'll say no more about that.
No crimes.
No crimes.
Specify no crimes.
I mean, I'm okay with a little crime.
Light crime.
Light crime.
Light crime.
And so, yeah, in summary, man, the world is hard to be in right now. And I feel that. I think we all feel that. And if you wake up every morning feeling like you wish that the world was different, you could do something, but you feel a little hopeless, a little helpless, a little powerless. And you're like, how can I even begin to fix this? Then I know that feeling. And so that's why I do World Builders, because all of us coming together, we can make a difference in the world. There are kids that go to school because of what World Builders has done, and because you've come in and you've helped us with these resources. There's kids that have books. There's kids that get to drink milk every day. It's a thing that I'm proud of. And if you want to get that good feel, come on in. Come on in, have a good feel, because talk about a resource that's a scarcity. Good feels, man. And we are selling it cheap here. So give it a try.
It's a brilliant way to tie it back. Well done.
I'm proud of that little segue there. Oh, Julia, you keep adding more bugs, and I'm here for it.
Man, the minute Brennan said bugs, I'm all in on it.
I love that, like the subplot is Julia's been chomping at the bit to draw bugs for every single one of these, and she finally gets her wish.
Finally bug time. Yeah.
It's finally bug time. I found the name of the VOD.
Yep.
There we go.
Bugging it out.
All right.
Now that we are back, we are through spring. We are heading into summer, which means, Brennan, I pulled your card, and I am ready to ask you a question. Are you all set?
I'm good to go, baby. Let's do it.
Let's do it, dude. All right. So, a scarcity has gone unaddressed for too long. Start a project that will alleviate that scarcity.
Scarcity has gone on for too long. Start a project that will address that scarcity. So we just have a Gorman Glass project start. Another scarcity has gone on for too long. We also so a scarcity has gone on for too long. We don't have any, and we need to start a new project for it. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. A party came back to the settlement, having explored an area that we had journeyed through a lot of other times, and had sort of thought that it was just a bit of like a resource desert for us. And we're digging through some old parchment that had received a lot of sun damage, but it was weird because this was an area that seemed like it shouldn't be getting as much sunlight as this. Like the deterioration was more rapid than it would make sense for that area to be. So doing a little bit of digging in that area, they discovered light coming in from under the ground. And getting to something, they arrived at this bizarre alien artifact that was a library drawer, like a massive metal drawer, like, something like, 100 feet wide by like 20 feet tall, enormous drawer at a weird catty corner angle with an enormous keyhole in the center. And they exposed it and went through and like send someone running back to the thing to get as many keys as they could. They came back. No, none of the keys worked. And the light went out and died. It was coming out, leaking out through the drawer. And there was this feeling of urgency of like, if we'd had the right key, we could have gotten in there and seen what was doing that. And now we've lost our opportunity to do so. So it's kicked off this new project that is like, we need to reorganize our caste system to prioritize the finding and collecting of keys alongside our other like survival necessary tasks.
I love that.
Like a key catalog. Like you need to, like you have the Dewey Decimal, but you need an organization system for the keys so it's more efficient.
Yes, and to go find more keys as well. To be like, clearly we've collected these for a long time and we haven't always known what we're supposed to do with them. It's very clear that these could potentially lead to some incredible resources if we keep collecting them.
Can I also throw out the reason they are valuable is because like maybe they're money, or maybe it's just like, oh, these are a novel, non-reproducible thing and therefore they're currency or whatever. But can I propose that there's also the Hall of Doors, and it's a hallway, and there's all these different doors of sizes and shapes, and they are all locked. And we occasionally can open one, so we have some keys, but we like if we could get in there, these tend to be like offices or storage areas, and so that's why keys are valuable. In the first place. And so there probably is like, there's the master of keys, who is like, yes, this now I will seize power. Give me more keylings. Kegels. Their Kegels are
we go. Nailed it.
Are the ones that go and search for the keys.
Key goals.
Yes, they have wings.
Birds. Yeah.
Yep.
Key goals. Wow.
Oh, key goals. I thought the goal of the key.
The goal of the key.
Key
I also just realized that I maybe just committed a huge own goal with this one, because key has a double meaning, especially in books, that you can have like the key to a map or the key to, but you know what? Maybe that we'll find a way to sew in that double meaning down the road.
There we go.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Well, Brennan, I know that you just started a project. You get the choice of doing a project, discussing something, or discovering something. What do you want to do?
We're gonna start a discussion.
Let's do it.
And this is a heated discussion that starts to rise up amongst the like ranger class, whether you're a stack walker, whether you're like a glyph finder, whatever kind of thing you are. It kicks off amongst a lot of the more rough and tumble, that people that really put their lives on the line for the settlement, when they find out about the Ink Project. And I think that the reason this discussion kicks off is there is an incredible amount of in the library labor that goes to preserving knowledge with this incredible oral tradition, with all of the lack of ink everywhere, right? And it's an incredible amount of brain power, and mnemonics and like rhyming devices and memory palaces are this huge thing that there has to be a tremendous amount of data put into, because the society can only collect knowledge from the world, rather than being able to stow the meta knowledge about the knowledge they've collected, which has to all be done orally. So ink would be this incredible innovation. However, there's I think a deep schism in our overly delineated culture, where the people who put their lives on the line to get this knowledge are like, we don't need to be getting more text. Isn't the goal for us to find all the relevant knowledge, and you want to make more knowledge? Like, the way they're relating to it is like, I thought we're supposed to be finishing this project. There's a sort of an idea of like, I want to be getting all the stuff, but if knowledge is the thing that we can make more of by getting more, then this job is never really going to end. And there's almost like a quasi-religious element to it, of like, The only words that you told us mattered were the ones that were in the books that were relevant about how this world works. And now you're writing more stuff. So why the hell are we going and frying ourselves up against the glass in the sky if you're like here writing more things down? Which it's heretical.
So good. It's so good.
So the way discussions work in this game is you set the stage very eloquently. You're going to ask a question, and then we're going to go through our players. So Pat will respond, Maud will respond, and then you get the final response, and that'll be the end of the discussion. Your response should only be a sentence or two. It should be brief. It should be direct. Pat?
I will say, I'm just saying James D'Amato didn't limit me to 2 sentences. He said brief.
You can't keep comparing me to James. You can't keep texting me saying like, you're not like James in this regard. And I'm like, I know. It's 3 a.m. This is very odd.
Okay, but
James D'Amato.
James D'Amato. Oh.
At least you said it properly.
Okay, so can you phrase it in the form of a question, like to the community? And I imagine we have like, it's a town hall. I imagine it on this sort of entry galley stage, like the community has come together for a discussion.
If knowledge is our most precious resource, why should we be allowed to or I guess the question is like, how do we prevent the corruption of a society based on finding knowledge if we are now suddenly allowed to create knowledge?
Yes. Yeah. For real though, can I have a couple more? It's so hard to do a voice and have a character if you're
Pat,
only giving me 2 sentences.
I will. All right. You know what, Pat? We'll do this. I will give you.
Oh no, not a time limit. Just
30 seconds, baby.
Motherfucker.
On the clock.
I can't step. Okay.
You start.
22 seconds left.
Don't. Okay. Seriously though, this X. This gives me anxiety.
Okay. All right.
I do have a time-based anxiety thing. It legit freaks me out. It's a very new wrinkle in my brain. So
go forward, Pat.
I, Grand Binder Kriksk, do not need to remind you all of how important the old ways are. Your ancestors and ancestors' ancestors, the highest goal they had was to be bound, to surround, to be part of the knowledge we preserve, to be protective of our most perfect texts. And now more texts? This is an insult to all of these who came before, who proved their worth and then became eternal. I cede my time.
I told my one joke.
That's all for me, folks.
Done, Pat. Maud, how about you?
So I feel that this centipede here is tasked with copying the text from the knowledge that is there into the blank, because we have an abundance of blank books. So the knowledge that we do have, they are scribing into these blank texts. And with 100 limbs, is very efficient at doing it. And I think that if we have blank pages, they must be filled. I think searching it and sustaining knowledge is not the issue here. And also, I think that, you know, if they've got 100, you put them to use. 100 hands, feet.
So that's he's a scrivener. He's a scrivener. There aren't many because you don't need many. Maybe he's singular. Maybe he's the only one. Yeah.
The only one. And there's like a little, she's very quite angry. You know, I have one job here, and I'm very good at it. And we are sustaining knowledge, and I refuse to see to the old ways. When if we need to, because aren't the wisps coming from the text? I'm in a way creating new foods. And then she's like, suck it.
With all the hands.
Yeah.
Can I propose that writing things down in general is kind of taboo? Like art is way off the rails, but this is the only one who writes things down because this is an oral tradition. Mm-hmm. They're the only one of their kind.
I will fight.
Okay. And then it circles back and you get last word, Brennan, in the town hall.
I think a big ol' roly-poly. Big old roly-poly bug gets up and says, "The ways of the library have always been that of the many forms of our people we remain a hive united. I would caution all those who are reacting to the coming of this new technology. Remember that there was a day long past when the first Gorman glass was lit, the first wisp devoured, the first key found. That you should live to see a day of firsts is not a nightmare, but rather a dream come to pass. However, these fears should not be left completely unaddressed. A new wing of the library shall be created, thus that all writings born of the bug folk and all writings discovered by the bug folk should be sorted in keeping with the great tradition of sorting that we have held aloft for time immemorial. Let it be buggy."
That's how we end all important conversations.
Just a very solemn, let it be buggy.
Let
falls
it
over
be
the room.
buggy.
Let it be buggy.
I do have a request. Can we make sure that Poley has Grandmaster Poley, because he has to be a community member with a voice like that? If he doesn't have a monocle, he does need a waistcoat.
Oh,
please, just please. Also, I will say Grandmaster Binder is he's got those scary, he's like he doesn't need to be a mantis, but he has those scary choppers because he's the binder. He gets that leather and he decides who's a book and who's a sack, and he's fucking terrifying.
okay. Ooh, villain in the making. I love a villain origin story.
And we've got 2 more seasons, so we'll see maybe what that villain arc is. But before, Brennan, we never actually put how long your project is going to take, this key organization and discovery system. So how long is that going to take?
Key organization. Well, I think the key organization and discovery system is going to take. I think it won't take as long as some of the other projects because it's not a research project, it's an organizational project. So I think it's going to take 3 weeks.
Does that include the breeding of an entire new slew of Kegels?
I think that the new Kegel cast is going to be like kind of jump started by taking some people from other casts and sliding them into this new cast, which will be
willingly.
Is
there a democracy here? Is there?
Well, and that's wild because normally it's like you get the Kegel jelly, but now there's something else and it's like, no, stop it, go find keys.
I think this is a slapdash decision made by the leadership.
Oh, I love
that they aren't thinking of as giving the lie to an entire cornerstone of their civilization, because it needs to happen so quickly that they're like, we'll just get some stack walkers. We'll get some stack walkers to start off the new cast, and now we'll start making a new jelly, and that's how that's going to happen. But it of course gives this thing of like a bunch of stack walkers going, so I didn't need to be a stack walker this whole time.
Oh my Lord, talk about unrest. Like oh my God, that's seismic.
I think there's big unrest right now. I think the ink thing has really bothered a lot of people. And I think that the new thing of this new cast coming up, it's a lot of big changes for us.
Yeah, we're not ready for.
Yeah.
It is quite telling that I heard Kegel cast and I thought it was a podcast at first. Thank you for bringing me back to that. Also, the Gorman Glass Expedition project is complete. The expedition is done.
Does that mean we have a little bit more
I
glass?
think you got a little bit more glass. We can denote it on the map somewhere.
Actually,
like a little pile.
What happens is, because you started the project, you get to decide how it resolves, and it doesn't need to be positive, or not everyone needs to view it as positive. So you're like, yeah, we did it. And all it took is pulling all of the glass out of all of these other places.
Yeah.
Or you could be like, it resolves, they come back, there's only one of them, and they have one piece. You know, like you can really pick anything. It's your show.
You know what? Because we're having a bit of an identity crisis, I think while they were gone and this decision was made with a new cast developed, they could have quite easily been reassigned.
Oh.
But other people were plucked from their path to go here. And now that's just added to the discourse. But half my family has been reassigned, and they're, you know, I was only gone for 3 weeks. What's going on? Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
And so
But we got glass.
We do have it. So does it go from a scarcity to like, we're good, or is it an abundance? Is it so much or just some?
Medium.
Yeah, so a decent amount. I don't think necessarily in abundance, because we're going to get to some of that fun stuff a little later, but it's not scarce at this point.
An adequacy of glass.
Yeah. Big Scalaman's vibes here with what I'm seeing. Pat, we're going to move on to you. I've pulled your card. The question, you get a choice of two. A contingent within the community demand to be heard. Who are they and what are they asking for? Or a contingent within the community have acted on their frustrations. What have they damaged and why did they damage it? Is it permanent?
Okay. Tell me how you feel about this. I think, because we started some of this before we decided we bugs, I like to think that most of the library is absolutely pitch black. And it doesn't matter, because we all got them like bug feelers and senses and whatever. So like we can sense shapes or whatever. I'm pretty sure bugs echolocate, right?
Sure.
Or there's a heat something, or you can sense shapes of things. The only thing we really need light for is like decoration or beauty, or to read the text. And so
the relevant knowledge. And so that means that resource, it's like you like the light, or it might make things easier, but you can move around and do most of your stuff in this dark, which isn't really dark to you. You only need the light to see the text or to reproduce text. And so, does that feel okay to people? Okay.
Yeah, love that.
In that case, I think and give me that second one again, Aaron.
A contingent within the community have acted on their frustrations. What have they damaged? Why did they damage it? And is it permanent?
So I think in keeping with this unrest that's going on, I think the fact that it's like, oh, now we're going to get ink. Now, like, we've repurposed people to look for keys. Like, just like dogs and cats living together. And in addition to this, the thought of making these new books, I think, The Hidebound, led by Grandmaster, he's sort of heading this faction, and he speaks out strongly against all of this and for the new ways. But some people, or some of them go in and they destroy what? Like, help me out here. Like, the ink isn't here yet. It would suck for the glass to show up and then they ruin the glass. I don't want it to be that.
They destroy the young adult section.
Oh no.
Hey, I got a pitch for you.
Yeah.
So they're mad about the ink, right?
Uh-huh.
They go in and destroy, because we had that Scribner who was the centipede, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Her name's Onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia, who was a one-of-a-kind insect, only got this like special jelly one time. They go and destroy the jelly pod for that cast.
Oh my Lord. I like that. And in
Onomatopoeia.
yeah.
Onomatopoeia, yeah.
Onomatopoeia, because of all the foots. Sorry.
Well done.
But like in their chamber, they have a unique. There's the scriborium or whatever. It's like their little safe space. I'll say they broke in there, and they did destroy that, and also because their big thing, and I think a lot of these people are traditionalists. They're the higher caste. Their ancestors became the covers of the books that needed recovering. And so they had created new books for things to be put into. And they also destroy the jelly pod and those books. And so it's like, these are not your ancestors. You do not get to be books. And this is like,
that's blasphemous.
It's like, so ruining even these empty books, but also it's like, that's real bad. It's like desecrating a grave. Even somebody who's a sack, you don't throw that sack away, man. Mm-mm. So this is like a lot of, even people who are on their side are like, they did what? Yeah. I like that. Too far.
Terrifying. So then discover, start a discussion, or start a project.
I'm going to say project, and I think somebody we need a leavening agent here. And so a big old dragonfly looking one comes up, and he's like, "Hey there, you kids, I'm Johnny Darkfire." And he goes, "Foomp," and he shoots out his wings, and it's like, it's got, and this is like, like taboo, because the wings are decorated, which is perilously close to fucking writing or art, but there is patterns on the wings. And he's like, and it's got flames though, because he is a 14-year-old boy inside. And he's like, "It's Johnny Darkfire. And you know what? You don't have to be what they tell you to be. I used to be a stack walker. Walker? Why be a walker with these?" Thump. And the kids are like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I drink my wisps from a tube. Like, I don't take, I stand," and he's like, and he just puts out the wings again, and the kids are like, "Yeah, Johnny Darkfire." And he's like,
imagine a Harold Hill type person. Just an FYI.
And he's like, "You know what?" He goes, "They told me to walk. They told me to look for keys. They told me to eat my wisps, and I'm not going to. I believe that I'm going to go there." He goes, "And I'm not going to climb those stacks. I'm going to fly. I am going to climb the mountain, and I am going to touch the sky, and I'll be back to tell you what's there. Everybody, Johnny Darkfire out. Thump. And then he kind of flies away, but he can only go a bit, and then you do see he kind of crawls the last little bit.
Important question, Pat. Fire spelled with a Y, correct?
Yes,
100%.
1000%. Yeah.
So the project is Johnny Darkfire touching the sky.
It's touching the sky. Yeah, and I want to say 3 weeks.
All right. Well, that's good because our research project for how do we turn this into ink is now done. So how would we like to denote the completion of that project on our map?
Then we now have I did say oubliette before, and it's just a delicious word.
It is.
No, but I still think I got to go with the well. The oubliette is now renamed the inkwell, but it is actually, it looks like an old like circle of stones, like you're in Moria and you're in Fool of a Took and you throw a rock down it, that sort of well. But in there, the mad scientist who has been ignoring the rest of the world trying to turn has found a way to produce ink. Cope so much ink that you pull it up with a bucket. It is a wild amount of ink, to the point where like, and this is maybe Johnny Darkfire got a hold of some of this and he's like, woo, peace out, Johnny Darkfire. But like,
so I was going to ask, this is the ink. This is the culmination of the ink project that was like made with like soot and charcoal. Right?
Yeah.
It's
So is this like a weird like mess of like charred stuff like swimming in a soup of like blood and other like what's
Pretty
the liquid
much.
down there?
I think the reason it took so long is this wasn't like a vast, like we got a government grant. It was like one guy who's like, I will do it. And he's like the art. He's a ladybug. He's a ladybug. You know what? And he is all rainbows. Can we do that, Julia? A ladybug. And but also, you know how an artificer or an alchemist has those little things with all the lenses that come down over their eyes? It's that, except actually just so many different kinds of eyes, right? And he's our mad scientist. And he went away to do this, and all of the debate, all the unrest was happening. He was off doing his thing, and then he comes out and he's like, you know, like, ladies and gentlemen, he's not a good public speaker. And then he just cranks it up, and it's just a bucket of dark ink. It's like more ink than anyone could ever imagine having. And it's just coming out of the well, and nobody knows where it comes from.
Where do you picture this well being? Because I can put it on the map.
And wherever makes your heart happy, Julia, I trust you implicitly.
Oh boy. Okay.
What if he puts it, does he want to put it, do we want to put it like smack in the middle of, there we go.
Yeah.
I think
Perfect.
that's fun.
And
Super fun.
And this is, he did not ask anybody. It's just everyone woke up and there was the well, and he had dug through, and it goes down beyond the ability to see, but there is a bucket and you can bring up. How about this? It's not built up. It's just a hole in the floor with the ring of stones.
Oh, gotcha.
Inkwell. Yep.
I think that means we move on to Mod for our final card in summer. Mod, my question to you is, someone tries to take control of the community by force.
Mm-hmm.
Do they succeed? Why did they do this?
Mm-hmm. Definitely an entity. I think that those that were sort of fueled and inspired by the desecration of the ancestral tomes, those that, you know, the thrumming of discern was in the back of their mind, but it's been amplified big time. The hive mind has clicked in. So too many people have aired their anger, and it's now spreading, and it is contagious like that for a hive mind. And what's ended up happening, this hive mind has resonated and it's rippling down, and it's like kind of like, you know, you're going through the motions, you're tinkering away, and then it's like voomp, and it's like an activation of everyone ready to uproar. And it's actually, yeah, Pat?
I was just going to say, is this sort of like it's built up in the overall mind? So like a lot of the individual, like higher order creatures have very well developed senses of self, but like a lot of the workers, like it hit a point and suddenly every, you know, like worker bee or drone soldier has now hit, it's like tick, okay, that's 32 on the chart, and now I am angry.
Yes.
Wow.
And what it's ended up doing is that it's awoken the queen. Ooh. The queen bee, who has been obviously resting. There's a cyclical kind of hibernation that occurs. As you can see with the waistcoats, what did you call the grandmasters? They were all seeking more and more power during her hibernation, or a hibernation, as we're calling it. And now that they haven't been able to contain the working class, and they are starting, like the power is starting to completely upend itself, the queen bee has been awoken, and she's pissed. She's just coming out. What was my action thing?
Oh, I love that I'm not the only one that does that.
Yeah. So do they succeed? Why do they do this? I think
they nearly did. And they were getting to that point. They clicked in 32 for anger. It was about to, like, the ink was starting to be smeared kind of thing. They have unified a symbol of graffiti, of the ink stamp, that, you know, they were starting to have a full on big scale revolt. And the queen bee has come out, and just by chittering a symbol or fluttering of the wings, it sends a nullifying noise that scrambles the anger and sets everyone back to like a default. You know, yes, Pat.
Does she just, it like she does her thing, but what it does is it's like noise canceling headphones, but her wings shake and the quiet fills everything.
Nice. Yes, it dampens everything. And I'm wondering, with the Grandmaster or is it this guy who started, Kasith, that was his name?
Cricket,
who had started, perpetuating the anger. She just eats him.
Absolutely.
As a way to just assert her dominance again.
Not to mention their heads are the first thing to go to. They get eaten like that.
That's true. Just the head leaves the corpse. Just the head's gone.
Can she move around, or does she like say, I also want to think the soldiers, I want to say there's probably a ton of soldiers because there was a war, but they're all mothballed. Can they look like the Garthim? Can we be cool with that? She sends the Garthim to bring him in because, because is she too big to like move around, or can she move around?
No, I think she's like the queen on the board.
Okay, I like that better.
She's got the most movement out of everyone. But yeah, for like half of the time she's in hibernation, so she kind of sets the pace. And these upper echelons should in fact know their jurisdiction, so to say, and not should not be a competition of power, but because there has been a power imbalance, she's just come come out to sort it out. And it's a couple of years too early. And she's just, she is pissed that this has happened.
Nobody had their house clean. They're like, I'm going to gather power for another 18 months. I got my watch set and my alarm's going to go off. And then I'm going to make real nice before the queen wakes up.
So the fact that Crickets has lost his head, I mean, it was a just move. It needed to happen. It was a very necessary thing. But I think it also has settled the anger. There is no longer a revolt. The fact that there is sort of change, I think we're starting to be more open to change.
Love it. Love it. So after that brutal display, would you like to discover something? Would you like to start a discussion or start a project?
I think she needs to have a discussion about who's going to supersede Cricket in his position that's not going to be corrupt. So it's basically a leadership vote.
Great.
With Ladybug, with Wanamadapeda. The Grandmaster's still alive with his waistcoat. That's still happening, the roly-poly. Who's the old mate again with the cane?
Oh, that was Artie, but he died. I mean, he
Oh,
didn't
that's
lose his head,
right.
but like, he's still
R.I.P.
here.
Artie culture. So I guess Queen Bee looks at all the areas, the factions, the castes, and obviously always gravitates towards self-help. The sages, the gurus, those that deliver knowledge, and they're the knowledge keepers, first and foremost. So if there's a bug from sort of self-help or self-improvement, as I like to call it, that would like to sort of step up and pitch why they should be nominated, or as a community, we discuss who the next best cricket would be.
Love it.
Yeah, that's my discussion.
So Brennan, you're first.
I think to sort of be this like prime minister, like affecting, like running the community sort of on behalf of the queen. I think there is an itty bitty little ant. There's a young ant, and as the sort of like wise casts are asked to weigh in on these matters, this tiny little worker whose job is literally just to like keep the settlement clean of like dust and page matter that blows in, raises her tiny little hand.
Is that because she's an aunt?
She's an ant. She's got a tiny. I think she's like the physically smallest cast, and asks that in the. I think she goes, in our hive, all things are shared, burdens, responsibilities. With this seat, could it not too be shared amongst all people? Perhaps even one day an ant could sit on it.
Pat.
Did we establish who the doorkeeper was?
The keeper of the keys? What was that?
There was the keeper of the keys, and there was the doorkeeper, the hall of doors, right?
Oh, right.
Oh, I don't think we went down that now.
Maybe. No.
I'm just waiting for you to be like, that Johnny Darkfire is a bit of a legend around
Johnny
here. He's been
Darkfire's
on
trying
reality
to touch
TV.
the sky.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say, there's
Jackie Darkfire.
There's Jackie Darkfire who is
God damn it.
you fucked up. Jackie Darkfire, and which is not how this works. because that was a nickname he gave himself, and now she has taken his name instead of she is supposed to be cookbooks. That's her genre. And but instead she has taken Darkfire. And so she comes out and she's like, I think if anyone speaks for me, it's Johnny Darkfire. And she brings out her wings, except she's found like pieces of like tinfoil or whatever. She hasn't drawn, but like she's kind of gilded. Her name's Gilda. It's Gilda Darkfire. And she's like, Johnny Darkfire leads the way. He's the light. He is the truth. He will touch the sky. And she just keeps talking probably until the queen eats her, I'm guessing. As you establish the queen, how do you feel the queen would jump on that?
Well, let's be fair. Touch the Sky. Great song. Back when he was good. What would she do? Honestly, I wonder. Technically, the working ant is a part, like it's a healthier nepotism, because this is how leadership is found. It's not the best person for the job; it's who's related, right?
Right.
Like, if we could be real. And so I think that the queen bee has realized that the working ant is part of her colony, and even though Gilda has wings, Gilda's just looking to stay in that spotlight, so she's created her own using the tin foil. I'm going to say that little Aunt the ant is has been gifted, knowing, and that's what you guys don't know, that the queen bee has direct line of access and that it's just a mouthpiece.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Super, super good. And
but makes
actually
it seem like it's such a unity and it's a unified force, and it looks far less tyrannical than it is. Little do they know.
Little do they know. Well, little do I know. Not much. We're done with summer. We're moving into autumn. We have 25 minutes left in the game, which means we are closely approaching the end of winter. And when the King of Spades is drawn, the game is done. We are quickly approaching that. So if we want,
is this like a speed season?
I'll say,
I think it might be a little bit, because these last questions get a little meaty.
Okay.
and I'll say, everybody, we are doing an abbreviated version of this game. You normally play it with a full deck of cards. So you would go through all 14 spring, all 14, and you are supposed to keep them short, but like, man, we can't do that. Like we just want to make a weird world. So we're effectively doing 3 of each season instead of 14. But then during winter, you don't know when the end will come. And so that's part of the fun of the game, is it always ends sooner than you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Pat, thank you for saying I'm not playing with the full deck. I really appreciate that. Let's clip that so I can put that elsewhere. But that brings us to the season of autumn. And Brennan, I have pulled your card. A project finishes early. Which one? And I make this, there's only 2 projects: the Key Organization and Discovery System and Johnny Darkfire Touches the Sky. So, and to give you the timeline, the Key Org, that's going to be done next turn. Johnny Darkfire isn't going to touch the sky for 2 turns until we get to mod. So it's up to you.
I think the Key Org gets done a week early. I think that's realistic, and I think that in all of the wild upheaval, with the return of the Queen, a lot of things that seemed impossible just kind of shift and happen in the wake of all of this. I think that the yeah, and I think the Queen makes some moves to like make that everyone just be okay with that. These people are going to find keys. We're making a new jelly for a new key finder thing, and that's just going to be how it is.
Okay.
Rad, super cool. So that project is now officially completed, and we can denote it in some way on the map. Is there anything specific you want to show that? I
think like some sort of like ornate key ring could be fun. I think would be very cool. Yeah.
Does the keymaster get sort of like a status upgrade? Because before there were only 14 keys, but now like he dude is bedecked, like he's got key bling.
The queen turns around and uses her stinger to knight him.
What if we had this like hanging from somewhere? Like, not to say it's over the well, but like, like amongst the lights. Is that too much?
Yeah, I dig that. I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, then Brennan, start a project, start a discussion, or discover something new.
This is like halfway between start a project and discover something new.
Let's do it, man.
In the rush to accommodate this new key finder class within the library's society, and with the arrival of the queen and the kind of violence and turmoil that comes with that and everything like that, the new norm kind of busts out in some unexpected ways, and especially because of the kind of quick fixes that accompany things like that, where it's like, well, why can there be a new cast? Well, because in matters of great import, we have always known that all bugs are just one type of bug. And it's the kind of thing you just say it and you move people along. But you just say it and then people start to believe it. And even though a leader might have been saying it disingenuously and saying it as some bullshit, it can start to take on a life of its own. And I think what happens is the tragedy of the destruction of the onomatopoeia's jelly, in this new kind of order, lots of different members of different castes and different sections of society that normally would have been, like, sometimes rangers get injured. Sometimes, like, there are certain reasons that people can't participate in some element of their caste. And a lot of them show up, and at first, as an act of mourning, begin to practice the scrivening art of the onomatopoeia as a way of being like, you are now alone, but we want to show you that you're not alone anymore.
Oh, that's cute.
But in addition to being very sweet, it's also like, oh, this like sort of public act of kindness is also like a whole movement of people kind of changing their caste. And it happens in a way that flies under the radar for a lot of people because it just looks like an act of civic unity and contrition, but they come back over and over again, and they're learning to write, and they're learning to
draw.
Maybe I think that's where people are on the way to. And I think it gets to that place again where maybe in a small conversation, the onomatopoeia, even someone says like, but some letters are done, like, they're like, onomatopoeia is when words sound like what they are. So couldn't a letter or a word look like what it is? And of course, aren't a lot of languages character-based where there is actually a correlation? And I think the onomatopoeia is sort of like, well, yes. And in fact, maybe you can experiment with some of those.
And this is because now before there was not much of this glass at all for anything, and now there's more. So that room, I think, it doesn't just have like a piece of glass providing light. The room is full of these pieces that are constantly being switched out. So the room is full of light. And also there's ink in abundance. And so like, it's like actually happens in real society when you have an abundance of resources, like people feel free to engage in luxuries, which it like learning or freedom. Yeah.
I have a theory about how the drawing has started. If we've got ink in books, I think a drop of ink has splattered onto a book as it was closing, and then when they've opened it, it's like a Rorschach test.
Like a Rorschach.
And it looks like a drawing of an insect all of a sudden, and thus created art again and drawing through accidental ink splat.
I could see. Oh, I love the queen. Does the queen look like a giant bee?
That's
Mhm.
her.
Oh, it's so
Queen
good.
bee right there.
So Brandon, it kind of sounds like this discovery is like a realization that people
Yes.
could that these bugs could
Yeah.
do more or discover more. It sounds more like a discovery than a project. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, but also it's the beginning of sort of a movement that, yeah.
It's the beginning of something bigger than
It's the-
ourselves.
Beginning.
Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
That moves us right along to Mr. Rothfuss. Pat, I pulled for you your card. A natural disaster strikes the area. Choose one. You focus on getting everyone to safety, remove an abundance, and a project fails, which means Johnny Starfire
Johnny.
ain't touching that sky.
No.
Or, and like, that sounds pretty bad. It sounds pretty bad. But the other choice, you focus on protecting your supplies and hard work at any cost. Several people die as a result.
That falls in line with what Brendan's talking about.
Give me
The greater
that
good.
first one again. What's lost? An entire an
Remove
abundance.
an abundance and a project fails. And the only project right now is Johnny Darkfire touches the sky.
I'm gonna say, you know what? Because I'm like, what would be? It said a natural disaster. So what's natural in here? I'm gonna say
Johnny Fire was actually made of fire.
what happens
Does
is
he go out in a blaze of glory?
Johnny, like what happens is there is a absolute shower of glass that comes down right in the middle of things, along with Johnny's broken body
Oh no.
and rain is coming down.
Oh
And-
no.
And so what happens, I think ink didn't end up on the resources, but we know there's an abundance, right? Now, people have been pulling it up. There's some tucked away, but the well itself, the rain comes down, and I think in a scramble to get all of the books and everything to safety, the rain comes down, and the well is like flooded, and the ink, when it's drawn up, the rain that has gone in, it's curdled and the pigment doesn't come out. And so
So
now
the sediment separates the sediment almost.
and so now
yeah.
the ink is back to being it's now a scarcity. It does exist. It's around, but that's it. The smudgeoning. That's very good, Moth, in the chat.
All right, Pat, that got real and it tugged at my heartstrings. Johnny, we hardly knew you. So, will you discover something new? Will you start a discussion or start a project?
We discover, and I don't know who discovers. I'll take some help with that. But what people realize is while they're doing this, Gilda. Did we decide did Gilda get eaten, or did Gilda
No.
expect? Okay, so Gilda is heartbroken at this, and she's like, I feel like I never really committed. Like I just did this foil. Ink me. Like Johnny was inked. And what is discovered is that when the ink is put on a bug's body, the queen's influence is removed. And Gilda only then realizes that, because Johnny seemed almost like a madman, because we can be people have been doing it in little bits and pieces, but he's the first one. It's like, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want to be. He said it openly, plainly. He's like, fuck everything. I'm flying to the sky. And so she gets that. And then it's like the veil is pulled away. And she's like, now I really understood what he means. Also, it's the ink.
The dying words. It's the ink.
Ooh.
Terrifying. Well, thanks, Pat, for all these new nightmares that I have to dream about tonight. This is really fantastic. Maud, we're coming to you for the last card in autumn, the last week in autumn. I've drawn your card. You get to choose. The strongest among you dies. What caused the death? Or the weakest among you dies. And who's to blame for their deaths?
This is like the almighty question that we ask. Do you kill one to save millions?
It's a trolley.
But everyone knows the queen bee and how important she is, and her life is worth.
There's different types of strength too, you know? You can interpret that different ways. There's room.
Millions die to save the queen, or the queen dies and absolute chaos erupts.
I could also throw out, just as a thought, whoever, because the Garthim, and like, who's seen Dark Crystal, right? Do you remember that shit? That's like
I'm wearing it.
Really?
Oh,
that's
Labyrinth.
amazing.
That's Labyrinth.
Oh,
yeah.
Labyrinth. Yeah, those guys. Those are the freakiest.
Those 1,000% scary. But like, I remember as a kid, and the Garthim were like, and I'm like, no. Like, even worse than the Skeksis in some way. But those are the soldiers that have been. But who is the head of the soldiers? Right? Imagine whatever is boss of Garthim. Who is like King Garthim here? That could be the strongest in some ways, if you wanted to use that.
Well,
you know?
technically, the one that was just nominated was Little Aunt the Ant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't happening. Honestly, I wake up and choose chaos often. Queen Bee.
Is she assassinated by somebody who's been inked?
Oh, that's pretty good.
How else could it happen?
Gilda with the shank.
Oh.
Yeah, literally like the ink marks that's starting to kind of like form the face of the free.
Somebody in the chat is proposing the besmirched from the people who have been inked, which is not a bad title
that's
there.
Good. Killed by a quill. That's good. That's good. I think, yeah, the absolute power corrupts absolutely. And even though Queen Bee had a very good order in things, there is now an uprising of those who have been freed from the ink, and an assassination has taken place, but done in a way that no one can point a particular finger. Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, then. Discover something, start a discussion, or start a project.
Mine is on the cusp of also discover and project. I think that when the Queen Bee had to use silence to nullify the discourse, use the sound to dampen, it actually dampened the screams of the wisps. And so the food source has gone from being quite abundant to being silenced. And so the scream as a nutrient upon consuming it is not as sufficient as it was. So that is, I guess, a discovery. Yeah, we discovered
that your food source is in peril.
But it was already scarce, so like it's double bad now. So,
and
like,
then there's no one to lead.
And no one's leading, and also we're all super hungry now.
You know what? It's fine. It's
Are
fine.
they going to
eat not like
the queen's body? Nothing goes to waste. It's
that brings us.
I just wanted to know, is there a way that you want to denote the queen dying on the map, or do you want to leave her up? Maybe I just take off the crown.
Leave her up because I love her so much.
Okay.
And the corpse is still there.
That's true.
It's edible.
Could we? Oh, can you draw Gilda behind her
With a knife?
with a knife?
Yeah, you bet. Gilda's the tiny ant, correct?
It was Gilda with the knife in the library.
Gilda is sort of also a dragonfly, but a
Gotcha.
little bit like Johnny Darkfire.
But she's got
you
the
bet.
tin foil.
You bet.
Every time you mention Johnny Darkfire, my heart grows a little bit more heavy. So thanks, Pat. I'm very, very sad.
That's what I do.
It makes sense to be a little sad because we're moving into winter where only good things can happen, I'm sure. Which brings us to Brennan. Brennan, I have pulled your card. Brennan, you see a good omen. What is it?
See a good omen. What is
Good
it?
omen.
What are our scarcest resources right now? Food?
Probably the food. I think so.
Food. The keys did increase.
Keys
I think-
increased. Gorman glass increased.
Mm-hmm.
The ink got ruined, but so I think food is sort of double scarce now.
Yeah.
Good omen. In one of the ruined ink areas out, but sort of downhill of the main settlement, it's just a legend because it was only some kids playing out by the edge of the city, but they described a shape that the ink was still slowly trickling out, and the ink made a shape as it trickled out of the city, and a wisp came out of the shape.
Oh.
And can't be confirmed, but if what they're saying is and the shape they described is an occult rune, it's one the scientists know about, it's one the academics know about, and the kids described, and they said that it looked like this, and they said, yeah, the ink kind of made a shape like that, and they went, okay, and a real wisp came out of it, and they're like, yeah, and it flew off, and that's the good omen.
I mean, I like a wisp being a good omen. That makes me very happy. So then discover something, start a discussion, or start a project.
This is a 2-week project. The academics, so chaos, Queen's gone, but there's still some people that are just running around doing stuff. Academics get together and they start a project because though ink is scarce, food is scarcer. But if the kids are right about this, you can draw the runes that summon the wisps, and you don't need to wait to find a naturally occurring portal that they come from if you can just make one.
Yeah.
But drawing is the evil that we've been afraid of.
Drawing will be our salvation.
I'm gonna speed us along here so we can hopefully try to get this on time. But Pat, I have a question for you. I would like to know, Pat, where is it? In preparation for the coming year, the community begins a huge undertaking. Start a project that will take at least 5 weeks to complete.
Okay. It is oh boy, it is when things are scarce and people are scared and there's chaos, it's very easy for fascists to take power. And so sorry to make it real, anyone can X this if they want, because I just made myself sad. But I would like to say the Garthim, who may or may, I probably shouldn't say that or I'll get my ass sued into oblivion. The Garthim, there's 3 M's on there.
Garth,
It's the sexy Gartham.
Okay, now you gotta draw it.
I know, I fucked up.
We could get. Can I just ask for Gartham in the kind of like Avengers Black Widow pose? You know?
Oh,
Booty.
oh,
Yep. Yep,
Looking
I'm
back
on
over the
it.
shoulder. Yeah, thank you, Julia. Appreciate it. Thank you.
This is the rest of the game now.
Yes. We got a new queen bee, all right.
So I think King Gartham is finally like, yes, finally now. I was controlled before, like, from my eyes. The veil has been torn. And it's like, and also it's like, we do got those leftover eggs. Guess who's soldiers now? It's
He
all of
birthed
them.
an army.
You know, but he started it because 5 weeks, right? So yeah, there's that. That's my 5-week project.
Building an army.
Oh, and I just made myself so sad though, because like, did he really do it to all the eggs? That's the entire freaking to what everyone assumes is all the eggs. How about that? Let's leave a door open.
So then, Pat, discover, start a project, discuss.
Oh, that was the project. Oh no, we already did.
Yeah, his question had the project.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Another project for another army.
it's an opposing army. I think, oh man, I think we need. I'm going to be distracted forever by a sexy Gartham.
I just want to say it is the
Clip
King
that.
Gartham that can make it clap. He's got a dump truck back there, and really.
Yeah.
How do you think I became king? How do you think I became king? You know?
Yeah.
That's a caste society I could get behind, but ding ding. No, it's I apologize. What we get is, first off, since it is winter, the cold rain that has been coming down is now snow. Snow is like slowly drifting, and so I think, or at least, how about this? The discovery is, it's like, oh, it's snow. And before they had like, they were trying to do buckets or something, but like, there's no buckets. This is a library. There's like, how do we protect this? But then it's snow. And then, and so all of this central area has kind of had to be abandoned because it's just wet, and wet is the worst thing here for the books and the paper. Maybe, and then it's snow, and everyone's like, okay, at least. But what they discover is that it's not snow, it's fine gray ash. The end. Done with my turn. I cede my time.
Okay, so here's the thing, gang.
Yeah.
We are at 8:30, and as I've drawn the card,
It's the king's fate.
I can make one of two things happen. Because everyone's had 3 turns in each season, and I have some power back here to make this card come a turn later. If you have like 5 minutes, or we can just end it now.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the good question. Is Brennan and Maud? We have kept you your appointed time. Do we have 10 to put a bow on the game?
Can I have my last turn, please?
Let's do last turn.
Absolutely.
And then final
Absolutely.
thoughts. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Maud. Winter is harsh, and desperation gives rise to fear-mongering. Please choose one. Spend the week calming the masses and dispelling their violent sentiments.
Mhm.
The week will end immediately. Or declare war on someone or something. This counts as starting a project.
All right. Immediately, I wanted to start a war on blank books, on all the books. And I wanted to do a mass disposing of the books. But we wanted to keep the ash out. So I guess they're angry, yes, and books are not great. But I also wanted to be able to start ripping the page. That's the violent move, the ripping of the pages, and then dismembering of the books to also build a shield to block out this ash, to stop like a
Okay.
barricade. So there is war, but it is a project.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
That work?
that project, I'm not even going to ask you for the weeks because we know it's coming. But before the end of anything, do you want to discover something, start a project, or discuss?
I think that while they are ripping the pages from the blank books, they discover some of Artie's work.
Got it.
They discover drawings of flame, of fire, of Vesuvius, of erupting mountains with lava trickling down, and
He was a dirty boy. That's like the tabooest of taboo, right?
But there's basically sort of like everything, all of the elements. He has committed sort of a permanence for them. But what we're starting to learn is that drawings could come to life. We're not sure.
Which
But
is
some of
perfect.
Artie's work, Artie's work is being discovered.
Brennan's project finishes at the end of this turn. So, Brennan, the project that these wisps can be drawn, and maybe there can be an evolution of that, has completed. Can you please tell us about the end of that project, the completion of that project?
Group of academics from the Incognium with some of Artie's work. One of the lead scientists with a motivational poster of Johnny Darkfire over their desk. Cracks the case that the legend about the jackals was true. Drawings can come to life. And that may be the origin of this entire species and of every living thing in this world, is that the reason that they are not alien because of anything wrong with the world, but rather drawings have always had the power to come to life. And so they are summoned here, and they feel, so the connection is that they have come from unreality into reality, which has so many implications for science and knowledge, but does immediately mean you can draw the eldritch shapes that produce wisps, and you can create food.
And that is an amazing discovery, were it not for the frost shepherds arriving and ending the game.
So this is, and to say for Brendan and Maud, what I love about this game is you spend all this time making this world. And of course, it is not usually as lush as what Julia has drawn for us, because you have to do it with your own clumsy hands and mind. But so you always do this, and it always ends before you're ready for it to end. But what this means is I've always thought that there's two types of stories, or rather stories end in two different ways. A story ends either like this, or it ends like this. And if it's too much in one direction or the other, it's not satisfying. The final Harry Potter book is this, and that's why everyone hates it, and they're right to do so. Because the epilogue closes the door on you living in that world, and it makes everyone sad. Now, the Quiet Year is designed to end before you resolve all your shit. And what you've done is made a world that will live in your mind, and I love that about the game. But in terms of a narrative experience that we are sharing with a stream and that we're doing for ourselves, and the fact that I would very much like to sleep at night and think of these things fondly with a little bit of a denouement. What I've been doing at the end of these is say, everyone gets to say, what about this? And we can theorize, or sort of like it's an epilogue, and it's like, here's the thing that I think would have happened. Or you can ask, it's like, what did happen with X? Or what about this? And then we all share, and it brings us a little more resolution than typically the game has. And so does anybody have something where they're like, I wish I knew more about this? They could just throw it out, and then we'll all chime in on the subject. Maud, do you have one that you...
The power of the ink as a freedom. If we've established that, like the absolute existential crisis that we're in, like we were born from a drawing. We don't necessarily have a past. We weren't a living organism until the drawing was created. And then it was up to us to expand and to extend life from there. I wonder if when the frost shepherds show up and this ink is splattered everywhere and it touches them, are they then free? And to be free is the knowledge that you weren't even real to begin with. So it stops the plight of the frost shepherds because the ink has freed them from whatever challenge they think they have. And they realize they weren't even real.
What if the frost shepherds show up and they're like, yeah, we have this book, right? We have a book about the frost shepherds and there was a blank page here. So this is where the frost shepherds came from. But now we have the lore of the shepherds. Maybe. I don't know. It's Brendan, anything that you are like, you want to put a bow on or say, what about this? Or, ooh, I never got to go here. Or
I do. I have a bow. I want to put on it.
Gimme.
Because I'll tell you what, Pat, we need a little fucking hope in this world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? We need a little fucking hope sometimes.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you this. The generation of the soldier bugs that are born, all of the eggs, it was all the eggs. And they are all born to that caste under that king. And when the greatest of the soldiers born from that hatchery befriends a small ant, the young soldier learns from the records of Johnny Darkfire by a Gilda still in hiding that carries that story, that though he was born to be a soldier, he can choose his fate and touch the sky if he wishes. And when the little ant discovers the drawings of Artie and realizes that not only can you be anything, but that anything can be brought to bear by you, she reaches into the first drawing that Artie made of fire, pulls fire into their world, and stands to tear down the tyrant king.
Can I also, because I was thinking exactly along the same lines. Also, Brendan, at least one of these worlds we made, hope was one of the resources from the beginning. Somebody said, that. As a resource, hope, and it's in abundance, and it led to a wild story. So, like, that's happened sometimes. So how about this? Because I want to yes and maybe throw a little bit in there that it seems like all the pieces are in place, because he did effectively went in, but he had to use whatever warrior jelly. I mean, calling all of it jelly is bad. But he's like, I want these to be powerful. And of course, when the queen died, normally you have queen jelly. Like there is a contingency for this, but it was gone and nobody knew where it was. And this was just despair because this is the end of all things. This is like, we might last a long time, but we are now finite and we have an end. And so, and then on top of that, oh no, all warriors, jackboots and all, except the king mixed in, or rather Gilda took the ink and mixed it in with the warrior jelly. And that is why this generation of warriors has grown up like this, free, because the ink was made from the queen jelly. And so all of the warriors, they look like warriors, but they are free. They are more, and they are their own rulers. And also the ink frees them. And what happens is as they go, not only can they draw or write, but they can themselves not just do what they want, but become what they want. They are malleable, and they are shapers who shape and live in the story they tell about themselves. Is that okay to do like with yours? Because it seems like I wanted to go in that same place and you got there first. But I also don't want to be like, if there was a piece of flavor that you wanted to keep, I don't want to feel like anything was taken away, because that was right in the center of my heart.
Yes and.
Yes and. I love it. Sick as hell.
Also, Julia's art is something like the best thing I've seen all week. My goodness.
Unbelievable.
Like, this is so talented.
It's so
Thank you.
wild. While this has been, look at all this wonder.
I'm so sorry that like now drawings have the power to live, and now we have sexy cartoons in our world.
I ain't mad about it.
But also that means the world is real.
There
All-
you go.
Real page turner, that one.
All stories are true, everyone. That is what I live and die by. And I will say, everyone who has showed up to the stream, who sort of shared it with their friends, everyone who jumped over to participate in the Indiegogo, everyone who right now is just hearing about the Indiegogo and goes, oh, but I want to do a charity. I want hope in the world. Like Brendan. Hey, everyone, you know who's cool? Brendan Lee Mulligan. You know what he likes? Hope. And if you want to break off a piece of that and put it in your mouth like candy, head on over to the Geeks Doing Good fundraiser. Buy yourself something fun and cool. Bring a little joy into your life. Put a little good in the world. Get a warm fuzzy. That's not a euphemism. It's a metaphor. They're different. I went to school for that, I think. And but these lovely people I have kept them past their appointed hour. Real quickly, Aaron, where do people find you? Where would you like them to look for you because they have fallen in love with you and they now want to find your shit?
Oh no, so much love. I would like you to go to curtaincall.games and play Curtain Call, the high school theater RPG. It's all musicals, baby. I'm a musical theater kid, just playing RPG about musicals. It's great.
Musicals all the way down. Brennan, where would you like them to go most?
You can head over to dropout.tv, where we have all kinds of amazing actual plays and incredible comedy shows. You can also check out Dimension 20 over at youtube.com/Dimension 20 show. You can find me at Brennan LM on Twitter or at Brennan Lee Mulligan on Instagram. Thank you so much.
What Brennan does on Dropout and with Dimension 20 is a fountain of joy gushing into the world. Oh, it sounded so good before I said the word gush, and we'll get that in post.
Absolutely drenched in joy.
Moist with joy.
Oh man, that's what I was gonna say.
X card.
X card. Maud, where do people find your beautiful brain babies?
Just really quickly, some poetry nerd said, I successfully wrote a whole ridiculous ballad of arty culture.
Oh,
it's my favorite ever. I love that. Look, since you're on Twitch, why not head over to twitch.tv/geekbomb, which is my channel. We do book clubs pretty much the first 2 Wednesdays over there, covering a sci-fi or fantasy book. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter and all those fun stuff as Maud Garrett. Not many Maud Garretts.
And my name is Pat, and you're already here on my Twitch. And there's my charity over there. If you want to go somewhere to look at what I do, I kind of do that charity along with lovely geeks like you. And so if you want to be a part of that, jump on in. If you're a little low on funds, don't worry. I've been there. Don't worry about it. You can spread the word. You can tell a friend. Otherwise, you can always sign up for the World Builders newsletter and just stay in touch with what we're doing. And you get some feel-good stories about how we're trying to make the world better. Because we need those stories, folks. And speaking of that, thank you, everyone, friends, and just beautiful, beautiful people, for coming and making a story with me, for the delectation of all involved. I'll see you on my stream later on this week. We got a couple of days left of the fundraiser, and I'm thinking of maybe asking Julia later if she would come in and maybe just me and the chat and her do Quiet Year with your suggestions.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that would be really fun.
It might be really fun.
It's already a yes. You don't have to ask me later.
Okay. Don't ever do that, people. Don't ever ask someone on stream if they want to do
I was
a
going
thing.
to say.
How about this, everyone? Right now, we are closing in on that $20,000 goal. I would say when we hit 20, I'm going to need to celebrate somehow. And then I can justify asking Julia to show up on a stream, and your suggestions, her art, and my Dionysian ability to fuck shit up is going to make a weird world with you. And again, thanks again so much. I will see you all soon. Take care of yourselves and take care of the people that you love. Bye.